Ooh, it's loud. Is that loud? It's loud to me. Part of the problem with StreamYard, at least that I have, is on my end, is the audio sounds one way live when I'm doing it from here, but then when I watch it back, all the levels are different than how they sounded when I'm doing the thing. So I don't have a way to tell how it's coming across at the other end of the screen. And so like it's hard to set people's mic volumes. It's hard to set my own mic volume. It's hard to set how loud to make the music. So I don't know how other streamers get around that, but that seems to be an issue with mine. Anyway, welcome. I just checked the news. There was a bridge in Baltimore that collapsed. Which I didn't read too much because stuff like that I don't like to. I mean, they're hard. That's awful enough. I don't like to magnify the detail of it, but there's that going on right now, and there's some abortion pill case going through the Supreme Court that it's looking like, if I read the article right, that the Supremes are gonna side with the FDA, like reclassified it or lifted some restriction on it somehow that allowed it to be, you didn't have to go in person to see a doctor. You could get it through the mail, and it made it gave easier access to it. And some doctors sued to challenge that, and it looks like the Supremes are leaning toward, they haven't made the ruling yet, siding with the FDA that it's okay for them to have done that and expanded the access and lifted the requirement of needing to see a doctor. Of course, this being an entertainment channel and me being the half retarded person that I am, don't go completely by what I just said. Read the article yourself. I'm just trying to summarize. I pull up the news like 30, 45 seconds before I hit live, and then I like try to capture the headlines real fast so they'll be fresh. And so you're going off of that small of a snippet of reading over it. Anyway, that is the news. Daniel Barry, always good to see you. It's so it's nice to have these regulars that just come in real steady and make the rounds and say hi and stuff. It adds to that community feeling. So thank you. Definitely appreciate it. Oh, as usual, come up if you would like. Chris is out and about today. He's going to join from phone shortly. So in the meantime, just hanging out. Not really any topics. Tomorrow is Survivor. That's about it. We hang out on Discord. What else is going on? What's going on in your lives? I'd much rather hear about that. I love when people come on the panel and show us live footage from wherever they are, like Moose and his travels, or Chris and his shopping sprees around town. Just little stuff like that. Not Chiquita on some of the other panels. I think he's in India or the Himalayas somewhere. He shows this really exotic scenery when he goes out. Probably the Himalayas, the mountains. So like anything like that, it really doesn't take much. During COVID, when we were all locked down and I was Zooming, and people would go on drives in their car, or every now and then walk, I would get so excited. It was like finally getting that experience of being out in the world again through vicariously through other people's like me virtually through their real life experiences. So we were going to do some more like man on the street, I guess, person on the street nowadays. I I don't mind if it's just man on the street, but anybody on the street, because I wouldn't want to like miss some cool old ladies or things like that. So people on the street of whatever gender or race or background, like having them somehow interact with the stream more or bring more people from the outside world onto the stream. The problem on my Chris leaves his house more, like he's out today running errands. But he also has a family and more responsibilities. I'm just a bachelor. And I don't leave very often because there's no reason for me to leave here. I have no social ties, no obligations, nothing that would pull me regularly outside of my home environment. So it's harder for me to pull people in. Although now that we're coming up on spring and it's warming up, the hiking's going to start, the camping, the activities around town. So maybe there'll be opportunities to. That's one of my goals this year. I was working on a move at some point, but up until that happens, or I might as well try to make some social ties here. So that's another one of my goals I want to work on this year, in case the move gets postponed. Anyway, I'm just trying to update what's going on with me. I would really much rather hear from some of you. So if there's a topic on your mind, if you have anything you want to get off your chest, like personal stuff, if there's panel gossip you want to share, I don't know. We take it all. Just throw it in the comments. You don't even have to come on if you don't want. I can address it here from the comments. I haven't really been watching some of the other panels lately. I know on Talcott's, I think it was Talcott's last night, Smith was on, and he was actually making sense. Toward the end, he started his spurging about numbers and words and etymology and stuff. But before that, when they were just talking life stuff, I related to what he said, and I'm like, yeah, that's wisdom. What he's speaking. I think he was sober. I don't think he was drinking, and I saw a completely different side of him, and I actually I liked what I saw. So there you go, Smith. If you're watching, I'd be shocked, but if you are, good job on Jax last night. Except for the end when you do, but I guess that's your little quirk. So I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just saying, when you do it, that's the alienation point. And I'm sure I have little things about me that do that with other people too, like alienate them after a while. But I'm just giving you information. Do with it what you will. Okay. What else is going on? Frank and I are involved in some reality shows on the Discord, so that's the main preoccupation lately. Before streams, it's escapism, but I also learn a lot from it. I learn group dynamics, interpersonal dynamics, intrapersonal dynamics too, because they let you in on their thought processes as well. So you just get it all. You get this little window into group. People have always fascinated, even as a kid. They were like the most fascinating things around. I like a lot of I grew up in a little tiny village, a few hundred people, maybe 300 ish, and so there wasn't a lot around. It was way out in the country, and people were the only thing really around to entertain yourself with and to be interested in. And we all were. My grandmother she was intensely interested in people. My mom, my sister, my aunt, they're all very social. I think Cajuns in general are a very curious culture. Like when new people come on the scene, we love getting to meet new people and hear about different cultures and hear their stories. So we're like a very open, curious type of people. So I grew up with lots of people around and everybody taking an interest in people. That was kind of the norm. So I guess I've always carried that with me. But so stuff like Survivor and Big Brother and those type of reality shows where they're kind of long, they have long arcs to them. So you can really take the time to get invested in the different players, and they go at a pace where you get to know enough of them to get it. There's like a parasocial element too, and then like if you're a super fan like me, as you watch go through the season, some of the characters start to recur and the themes and the storyline, and there's like this little core group of regulars that build up um and so there's like this meta story or like character arc you get to see on some of the players. Anyway, I like it. We've been doing that. I wish I had any. It's like something not traumatic, but something stressful or anxious or something to worry about. Something going on in the world that I thought was we were in danger of. That seems to be the red meat of a lot of these panels, but I really don't. Like this is what life looks like, relaxed and fine, doing things that feed you and keep you engaged and active and healthy. I'm so maybe it's boring. Maybe like mental health is boring, so that's why people they like the dramatic, they like the drama of not of wellness is kind of ho hum, even keel, which I think that's one of the points of it. But some people maybe that's a little too sedate. Might have even been for me in my younger age. But now I'm fine with it. I'm fine with signing on every day, checking in with my peeps, letting people come on that want to bring whatever or get whatever out. Um, I love doing that. I used to facilitate groups as part of my mental health work. I'm actually a trained group facilitator. Uh, so I've always liked those. I ran those kind of real informal, unstructured drop in style. So this is right up my wheelhouse, bailiwick. So I like doing this kind of stuff. But point being, I mean, I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but I'm pretty okay. I'm doing things that interest me and keep me. You have to have, especially with people like me. Hey, Rick, it's people who keep making it fast. Yeah, and yes, and because I learned that on my visit to Louisiana, the pace was a lot more chill back there, relaxed and fun. They were enjoying the moment. It wasn't just rushing to get things done. But also, sometimes I feel like I'm the fast one that's operating at a higher pace or faster pace than everyone around me. And in order to meet people where they are, I have to try to slow my pace or somehow reconcile my pace with the pace of other people's. Especially like it showed up in school for sure. They'd have to put me in advanced classes, but like in the workplace, it shows up a lot too, where I'm working at a higher level or ready to take on more work or go on to the next part of the work faster than the coworkers around me, and it throws all of them off. So I've had both. I've had the experience of being slow and having other people be what makes it faster, and I've had the experience of me being the one that's on the fast setting, and everybody around me try to keep up. People are complicated, and when you put more than one, people are complicated on their own individually, and then you put more than one of them together, it's just like a feedback. It was exponential complication. And so That's a lot of complication, all feeding into each other. So I try to have a very large mind about it all, if I can. I forgot what I was talking about. That's probably a good thing. Okay, what's next? I had some tweets, but I think I went over most of them when Lib was here. Oh, I had one on trans rights, but I was saving it for Lib. That's right. Yeah, not much on Twitter going on. Well, gee, I guess I'm waiting for Chris. He did say he'd be there, and because he's out and about, we get to see another like on the street presentation. Maybe he can bring some panel people in. Like he did get his hug from the stranger the other day. It was this black lady. So like I told him, I said, find you this nice motherly black lady. You will get a hug. I promise. I guarantee. And that's exactly who he got the hug from. I know these things. And so we got our like for that. And then Frank gave me a free like for today. So if anyone want to throw likes my way, I normally don't ask for stuff like that because I just don't ever think about it. I don't look at the numbers at all. I just turn on the camera. Okay, sounds good. Milkshake brings all the blanks to my stream. We'll play was it match game? Anyway, shit, what was I talking about? Fuck. Why am I losing everything today? I don't know. Anyway, if it comes back, I'll finish the story. Sounds good, Rick. Oh God, that's that AGE. It's a real thing, yo. It doesn't get better. Okay. Chris and the stream and inviting people into the stream, etc., etc. Oh well. I want to make like business cards where when like that I could like anybody could download, and then when y'all are out and about, like y'all could just say, hey, check out this cool channel on YouTube that we hang out at, and bring in people from like local communities into it. Just to, I want to see. I'm really experimental. I love to push. Not necessarily push boundaries for the sake of pushing boundaries, because sometimes the boundaries are there for a reason. But even then, you kind of have to test to see if they're doing what they're supposed to do or if that reason is still valid. But anyway, I'm more like to push projects to the next level. I like to get to the next iteration because I see the potential. Like I use like the acorn to oak, and I try to like accelerate that. I try to get the acorn to move to the next iteration of becoming an oak. And so that's the part I like. And with these streams, I'm ready to merge real life and the streams and play with that boundary if there is one and see what happens there, because that feels like the next edge, the next level, like in a video game when you're leveling up or getting to the next level, and then the difficulty goes up, your powers go up, etc. I think that's how video games work. And that's what I'm trying to do with the stream. And it feels like mingling it with having some hybrid contact with reality. Seems like that next edge. So maybe if Chris comes on, we'll get to do that today, because he's going to be from the phone. So other than that, the problem is I don't think I'm that interesting. So if I have to think of something interesting from my own life to keep the episode going, that's going to be challenging. Oh, I remember what I was talking about. One of the things was challenge and struggle, like having the right level of challenge and struggle. So it's not, I'm not just coasting like on, what is it, autopilot cruise control, but I have some kind of difficulty level to work against, because that's what keeps me sharp. It keeps my abilities at the level they need to be. And so for me, it's about having the right level of challenge. And I think it was connected to those reality shows somehow. But I guess maybe having them to watch and invest in like that gives me the right level of challenge. Who is Mark Passio? Let me look him up. Spiritual awareness. What are you promoting now, MC? He's not bad looking. He looks like a militia preacher type, though. Like, is he from Idaho? Is that where he would host of What on Earth is Happening? He explores topics such as human consciousness, truth and deception, natural law, sovereignty and anarchy, and more. Okay. Well, people can check him out if they want. He can come on the stream and talk if he's not too basically the rule is just don't irritate me too much. If he's too extreme or like too unpalatable for me, then he'll go. But other than that, I feel like I give a pretty wide latitude here for people to talk. So yeah, if Mark Passio wants to come on, tell him come on over. Oh, that's from this comment, by the way. Well, I don't want to end it before Chris gets here, but I don't want to just sit here either. Hey, Chuck, do you want to come up and talk? Chris is running errands, and he said he's going to join from phone, so I'm just trying to fill in until he shows up because I'm hoping my strategy is to get him to get some real life people on the stream today, like while he's out, like in the parking lot. Just find some old lady and say, "Hey, man, would you like to be on live YouTube?" And see what happens. This is all experimental. Very, I take an experimental approach to a lot of things. I'm not a planner. If someone gives me a task or even like growing up in the school, they assigned us projects and stuff. I had no idea what I was doing before. I just jumped in and started playing with the thing and experimented until I figured it out and produced the result. And I did well a lot of times. I remember one time, this was an art class, and it was the first day of art class for that year. And the art teacher was one of my favorite teachers. She was this really cool, quirky, artsy lady. She had reddish hair. She kind of reminded me a little bit of Cyndi Lauper. And she was so cool. Just being in her presence, I just had this awe of her at my little like gay teenage self. And the very first task of art class was she gave each of us a marble, a glass marble. And she said, your assignment is to keep the marble in motion for exactly 30 seconds. And the person who's closest to 30 seconds wins because this was a residential school, so we lived in the dormitories, and we won a night out with her. She would come pick us up at the dorms and take us to Baskin Robbins for ice cream, as she was going to pay for all. It was like free ice cream with the art teacher, and the chance to hang out with her, like as a teenager, to get to hang out with this awesome lady, like socially, and have ice cream with her. I said, I'm winning this. I don't care what I have to do with this marble. I am winning this contest. I'm gonna make this project. I'm doing it. I don't care what I have to do. So I took the marble, and we had like just the hour of class to do it. And so I took the marble, and I'm like, okay. Oh, and I should mention the class was not a normal classroom. For some reason, that day, we met in the upper lobby of the big auditorium that they do all the theater and the musicals and stuff in. And it was this weird, like curvy room, and they had like a janitor's closet. They had all this construction equipment. So it wasn't a normal classroom. It was like out in the open, and there was all this material you could use. And I don't know how I did it, but I ended up winning. I kept the marble in motion for exactly all it was. They timed it to like the millisecond or whatever, and almost it was like 30.000 something seconds. So it was that perfect. And what I did was there was this like big metal bar that was like triangle shaped, and so when you did it like this, it created a groove. And I put the marble in that, and I took it out into the balcony of the auditorium where all the seating was, and it was sloped. And I rigged up this contraption with these blocks and everything, and somehow on this ramp of the auditorium and this bar thing, I was able to use gravity to make the marble roll uphill, or it appeared to be rolling up the ramp, but because the ramp was sloped, it was an illusion, and I could time it perfectly using gravity and this contraption that I built. And I got it exactly to 30 seconds. And every time I put that marble on, it would roll uphill for exactly 30 seconds. So the whole point is like, I did all of that in the moment as I was doing. I didn't go in with a plan. I didn't like strategize ahead of time and say, okay, what are some ways to make the marble move? Let me sketch out this model, this. I just took the marble and started playing with stuff. And that's what turned out to be the successful tactic for me, that with the way my brain works. God, I hope somebody else comes on so I don't have to sit and tell these long-winded stories all day. Oh, Chris. But hopefully they illustrate points of like larger points I'm trying to make about either mental health, personal development, neurodivergence, just interpersonal stuff I've learned from interacting with people. Who is Jackalope? There you are.
Oh,
Who is that? What's your cat's
somebody,
name?
somebody changed my name on Flows last night. I
Oh,
changed it.
did anything happen?
Not really.
I guess that's good for once.
You said that and I almost typed in Flo's name.
Oh,
Big dummy.
uh-oh. We're all getting enmeshed.
Yeah, we got smashed earlier on TML, so
What happened then? What happened?
how stupid we are.
TML was saying on his stream how stupid y'all were.
Well, he just went through a list of names of people that he has trouble with.
Was I on it?
Yep.
Oh.
Flo was on it, but because I'm associated with Flo, I ended up on it. I don't know. I can't keep track
How
of it.
funny.
I'm like,
Well,
oh
I'll have to. Is it the
Lord.
one he did recently? I have to go take a look. If anybody has a,
Today,
oh, today,
this
the one he did to,
this morning or late morning.
yeah, okay. I checked in earlier, and they were just watching a video, so the panel was at the
Yeah,
bottom. And
he's been bouncing around between videos and conversation. I
okay,
figured
well,
I'd come up here and keep you company so you wasn't bored out of your brain.
yeah, I was more worried about y'all. Yeah, I'll have to watch it. If somebody has a timestamp or something, we can play it up here. Just throw it in the link.
No,
Otherwise,
I
I'll.
didn't timestamp it.
Hey,
I
Jeff.
just thought it was a little ridiculous myself.
To me, it is like luxury drama. It's there's nothing going on, and so they have to make drama. Like it's just habit, drama out of habit, because there's not any real reason to have this drama.
That's
I
like
mean, Machine and I
Cecil.
haven't talked in probably over a month.
Cecil was on there and he acted like me and him had talked before. And I don't ever remember talking to Cecil.
I don't know if Cecil remembers who all he talked to. And Machine is the one that would talk like when Toilet Bowl and then would go on his stream, would say, "Why are y'all always coming on my stream? Y'all can't let it go. Y'all are keeping it going, talking about it." And then he's turning around and doing the same thing with this drama. He's the one not letting it go and keeping it going. Lots of projection. I always assume people are aware, but I guess that's the point of projection is you're
I
not
mean,
really.
it's all right for people to get mad, but geez, make it something worthwhile.
Yeah, that's what I say. Higher quality drama, higher level drama. Like if we're gonna do drama, we should just really push the drama.
Well, I know earlier in TML stream,
Because
Flo
you
jumped up
contracted with NASA.
that
They're the round earthers.
Flo and Cecil, I mean, Flo and TML got into it
Oh, last night?
this morning on his.
Yay. Well, good. I don't feel so I didn't feel so out of place the first time because it looked like it was a lot of people just not doing self-care and like letting their stress level get to the point where they were hyperreactive to everything. But it's even happening among all of those people themselves.
Flo went up there to try to see what was going on, and it just went from bad to worse.
Yeah, I stayed away. I was giving Machine his space for a while. I was watching how he was with other people, and I was like, okay, well, let me not go add to that. And somehow it ended up on my stream because of something with Cynthia. And
Yep.
for me, it ended that day. I'm like, Machine's going through some stuff. He's a grown person. He knows if he ever wants to talk, we could talk. Like, I'm not worried. Let him do his thing. I'm gonna give him his space, and that's pretty much what I did. Every now and then, people brought it up on this stream, and I addressed it because I wanted to be transparent and I wanted the truth out there, so there wouldn't be any he said, she said.
Yeah.
Now he's bringing me up. I don't care if he. I wish more people brought me up on their streams because at least it's publicity. But I
Drive
don't
some
mind that he's
viewers.
bringing me up. It doesn't surprise me. I'm not surprised that I'm on the list. I'm surprised that he even has a list and that he's even bringing up any of like that. This is his content compared to what his content could be.
And all over the nonsense of, well, you remember what started the whole thing, right?
Well, I don't know because it's a labyrinth of drama at this point. I saw it start a long time ago with Toilet Bowl when I went on Machine's show and Toilet Bowl freaked out.
There's another one I wouldn't give you 2 cents for.
Oh, I don't. You don't see him on over here, do you?
I think he's on hiatus.
Very early.
I think he took a break.
That's good. I think mental health breaks are good. When people are telling me they need a break or they're taking a break or they can't be on the stream today because they have this real life stuff going on, I'm like, good. That sounds healthy to me. It sounds healthy that you have something to do in the real world and you won't be on the stream today. It sounds healthy to me that you decide you need a few days of not being on the stream. All of that sounds healthy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are mad at me because I told Jack he's a dishonorable person.
Well, that doesn't sound like anything out of the ordinary. Why all of a sudden would that make people mad? That sounds like something you've been telling Jack.
Well, I never said he was dishonorable before.
Oh, so you escalated to dishonor.
Yeah. Yep. He's doing self-justification on squatting in his house.
I just want to put all these people in a room and put on some music, get some drinks flowing, pass the Dutchie, and just have a good time. Like a swimming pool, hot tub, balloons, confetti,
Damn, what would you
chocolate fountain, all kind. Just have a good time, and
what would you do with all the dead bodies? You put everybody in the same room, you're gonna have some bodies
Oh,
floating.
you're right. It'll be like Clue. Don't let the lights go out. Make sure all the sockets are working.
Yep,
Yeah, you're right. Put the candlesticks away. Lock up the knives.
there you go. I can see
But
it. We'd have a who done it.
you know what, Chuck? Growing up, this is the kind of stuff that kids always worked out among themselves, like growing up. So maybe if these people didn't grow up that way, they're going through that stage where they're, because that's what this looks like. It looks like the kind of stuff we would do when we were teenagers in the neighborhood and we were having beef with people, and you would just,
So what you're trying to say is society is regressing.
well, maybe not society, but that certain individuals in the panel verse are, and I have to include myself, but in are stunted in some areas, are lack the developmental the life experience that they need to progress developmentally. And I definitely, that applies to me in other areas, not these areas, but other areas. I am also one of those people. Because a lot of, like, when they talk about morality and I'm like, how hard? Like, I don't know anybody in kindergarten class that didn't already know this. How hard is this stuff? How were you raised that you still struggle with basic morality?
It's
So
the
it's kind of
it's
like
what's
that. Like,
it's the what's in it for me mentality. It's
yeah,
fine
but
if it's
how?
you.
Maybe a lot of it was like the way they were raised a certain way,
I think so.
and they didn't get certain things, and I was raised a different way, and I didn't get other things, but I got the things they didn't get.
Well, they call me a boomer and a dinosaur in my thinking, but I only rely on what I was taught.
You are a boomer, though, right?
I guess I am. 1960.
Tail end, yeah. You're almost Gen X. You're a later boomer, late boomer.
Yeah,
They have a name for y'all. In fact, I forgot what it was.
it's called old pope.
Well,
I
hang on. Let me
I don't know what they got so many designations now. I don't know where it falls.
Generation Jones. That's what you're called.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, it's
Is
the
that like
latter half of the baby boomers from 54 to 65.
is that like keeping up with the Joneses?
Um, Cultural commentator Jonathan Powell were born during the Watergate crisis, the oil crisis, stagflation. Why is it called Jones?
Yeah, I don't make. I've
Oh
never
yeah,
heard
that's
that.
one of the connotations. You're right. It's the keeping up with the Joneses,
Okay, the
and the
only
Jones,
reference
like
I
I'm
can make.
jonesing. I have a yearning or craving, like I'm jonesing for.
Yeah, that's a term from back then.
So
But
Grandpa
that was more late '60s, early '70s when they was jonesing that I remember.
I remember the disco from the 70s more than anything else,
The disc. Oh yeah, disco.
and all of the bad cop shows that we loved
I had
so much.
my I had my polyester pants and vest
Oh,
and silver shirt.
I
Oh yeah,
love that shit.
6-inch platform shoes.
Soul Train. Oh,
Oh yeah, crazy times. That's for damn sure.
that was this. The 70s were fun. Everything was so carefree. There were like 3 TV channels, so there wasn't a lot to care about globally, nationally. So everybody was more like focused on what was going on around them and just vibing with everybody.
Yeah, and today you can't even go anywhere without these phones plastered in everybody's face.
But the way people are today, I'd rather them stay, like, keep the phone in front of your face if it keeps you from trying to talk to me with your nasty ass. helps.
I
It
understand.
works out for me.
I understand that. Hell, I can remember when the wireless connection between a cell phone, earbuds or whatever they're called, before they just came out. I thought there was just a bunch of nutty people talking to themselves.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing people like walking around the sidewalk
And
talking
and just yeah,
in
I was like,
Vegas on the strip.
who the hell are you talking to, buddy?
Yep, I do remember that. And
Showing
then
our age a little bit.
and then you quickly got adjusted. Like a year later, you're like, oh yeah, they're just talking to somebody on the phone. No big deal. We adapt, I guess, to technology. It becomes our second environment, our second nature.
Sometimes our first,
Yeah.
if you think about it, as much time as people spend on these shows throughout the course of the day.
Yes, and I'm grateful they do. I'm glad they don't stop doing it. But
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to
just
run anybody
selfishly, like,
off.
yeah, no. If you need a break, definitely take one. Like, don't. I don't want to be. I hope none of
Hell,
these
I'm
panels are people's. Although, I think about that because growing up, if we had panels, because all we had were like the 3 TV channels. If I had something like this to watch growing up and to interact with, how would my life be now? Having this as an
oh
alternative to TV or like an alternative form of entertainment.
well yeah, because used to you could only get cartoons on Saturdays,
Yeah, I remember that. Super Hall of Justice.
and we
Did you?
always anticipated Saturday because it was the day of the cartoons.
And then you went and played outside the rest of the day.
Yep. Now you go out, rape, pillage, and burn.
Well, wasn't doing that. We did burn, but I wasn't raping and pillaging as a kid.
Could
But there might have been a burn or two
have been
unintentional.
some. Yep, some accidental and some on purpose.
Yeah.
So
Almost all
what's
of the
your
trouble we got into was accidental. Like we were basically good kids. We didn't go out and try on purpose to get in trouble, but boy did we get in it.
so what's the latest drama you heard? Anything?
Not really. Like I've been I peek in on the panels and I watch a little bit of them, but I haven't really been as involved. I've been caught up on reality drama, like with the
This
binge
Joe's.
watching that we've been doing on Discord.
Oh,
So like
okay.
Survivor drama, Big Brother drama, and so the Big Brother house reminds me. Like when I watch it, I'm like, this is just like the Panelverse. If you put 16 people from the Panelverse in a house together, you're going to get this show exactly what's happening on this show right now. The strong personalities, the drama, the strategy, the tactics. I want to get rid of. I don't like this person. I want to get rid of them. I want to team up with this person to get this person out.
Well, I know that. Let's see. The latest one is the black communities are on the prowl for O'Shea and Paul.
What? You talking
Oh
about like
yeah.
chaotic reacts and stuff like that?
Mm,
Those
some of
communities?
these. Some. I'm talking about uh the communities that Cynthia hangs around.
Oh, I thought we were some of those. Maybe she might have a whole other side.
I'm talking about yeah, the what is they got nicknames for them and I don't know what they are or even what they mean.
So what about like they're after O'Shea?
Yeah, cuz he that the other night he was surfing black channels and that was the title of his live was I'm surfing black channels or something like that. And when they saw the title, and then he brought in Paul, who dropped the N word, and they just went crazy.
Well, the N word I could understand, but but other before that part, it just seems like something so minute to be sensitive. It seems like online drama, like online sensitivity.
But according to Cynthia, that other communities tend to take it to the physical world as opposed to the metaphysical.
Well, I've heard talk of that from some of the people from this part of the
Yeah,
panelverse. Not on
you
this
know,
channel, but other very adjacent channels.
screw that. Life's too short for that crap.
Yeah, like I don't know, like it's gotta it's nature nurture. I'm sure some of these people
You know who Tarek
have
is?
who?
Tarek.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
after me now. He's
For what is
gonna
he gonna do? A video, a fight video? Come
he's
fight me.
gonna he's gonna expose me.
For, to,
And I said, expose me for what? I'm a simple
expose you as
man
what?
leading a
A man
simple.
that
Yeah,
sits in
exactly.
front of his curtains all day, which we can see already for us. Like what? There's nobody's gonna believe you do anything other than what we see you do all day.
I mean, I could take you out, show you the chickens, or show you the
I would love to
pond.
see the chickens. You got a chicken with your name on it. I would love to see the chickens. We had chickens growing up too.
Little zombies is what I call
How how many do you have?
them. At one point, I had about 40.
Oh my god, we had like 8, 40
I'm down to
chickens.
I'm down to 14 now.
That's a lot of protein.
They were all layers, egg layers.
Is it the brown eggs, the country eggs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
brown ones and blue ones. You get Easter egg chickens. You get
Is
blue
that
and
the
green egg.
I remember the robin eggs would be blue, and they had was it the guinea eggs?
Oh, guineas. Yeah, those are the little bitty ones.
I remember my uncle. He was like a health nuts. He was always making these milkshakes, and he would crack a raw egg into it, and he would get the eggs from the chicken coop fresh, and he cracked one day, and there was a little bloody chicken embryo
Ooh.
in the egg, and he put it in the milkshake, and he blended it up. You could see the like blood streaks in
Oh
the milk,
no
and he
no
drank
no
it.
no
Like, he's
no
like, it's
no
just
no
protein, and he drank it.
no. I'm not drinking an abortion.
I know. I had the same reaction.
He must have had a
So that
rooster
made
in
me
with those chickens.
suspicious of those country eggs ever since, because I saw one with the chicken embryo in it.
If you don't let the rooster get to them, that you won't have that problem.
Well, some rooster had hopefully had some good time that night.
Yeah, apparently so. I had I had that problem. I got well, we ordered chickens and it was supposed to be all females, and we ended up with about 8 roosters.
How could you not tell that? It was so obvious to me as a kid which one
Well,
the
they
rooster.
were when they're babies.
Oh, when they're babies.
Yeah, you don't know, and then
Uh,
only until they start growing up you realize you got a rooster. So
oh,
I gave 7 of them away and kept one just for uh defense for the hens. But he lost the last battle, so
do
something
people
got a
eat
hold of.
roosters, or is it only the
Some
females?
people do. Some people will.
Can you
But
go
from
into
my
Popeyes or Kentucky Fried Chicken and order rooster, or is it all hen? Do y'all have any rooster today?
I don't even think they sell rooster.
Oh, well, someone should open up a rooster
I
shack.
could be wrong though.
I've heard that too. Something about it was hard to sex bird. That's like a specialty, a chicken sexer, like people that sex
Yep.
chickens.
I just go by the when they get bigger, you can tell which one gets the crown and all that by the crown.
I guess today
But
is
they
chicken stories or bird stories. If anybody has any other bird stories they want to tell, feel free to come on. I remember one time we were driving home. We had gone out to eat and we were driving home from the restaurant and it was late and it was like the big country highways. And all of a sudden there was this thud I think it was my grandfather that was driving, and my grandma was in the front seat, and my uncle, and me and my mom, etc. And it was this big old white chicken that got hit, a hen or
Oh
something. It was,
Lord.
and it was still flapping around. And my grandma
Oh,
made my grandfather stop the car, and she's like, that will make a good gumbo. And she had him get the chicken and take it in the car, and it was in the back seat. They were holding it down, and it was still like flapping its wings around
oh,
and
they
everything.
didn't wring its neck.
I think at some point they did. I don't know if they did it in the car or if they waited till they got home, because we were only like not even a mile from the house.
Ah,
And
okay.
she went home and she used that chicken and put it in a gumbo, and we had a delicious gumbo the next day from the road.
Ain't that, well, at least
Road.
it didn't go to waste.
Yeah, it
It,
didn't. It
it
was
ain't.
live. It like
It ain't
flew
like.
into the front of the car, so it was freshly killed.
Yep. At least it wasn't stiff as a board when they found it.
Do you have any tragic chicken stories
Tragic chicken
that will
stories.
move us to tears? A tear,
I've
half a tear.
I I had to put a couple down because they
Do you
were
do their
hurt.
necks? Do you wring their necks or you chop them?
I shot them
Oh, you shot them.
with a pellet gun.
Did you put little blindfold on
I tied them
first?
to a stake. Yeah, offered them a cigarette.
Turn them toward
Last
the wall.
meal. Asked if they had any prayers. Told them to look the
Did you
other
throw them
way.
up in
So
the air and shoot them? Or
no, I just cornered them in a section, fenced them in, and then popped them.
how many were there?
There's like three that I had to do that had got injured,
Oh,
and it was quite apparent they weren't gonna make it anyway. And I don't, because if a chicken smells blood, they go crazy.
what happens to them?
Like say another chicken say starts bleeding for some reason, cut itself or whatever. The other chickens will maul it to death.
Why? Oh, because it's a threat. Like it draws predators.
Not a threat, I don't think. It's something weird with the blood scent.
That's weird. Someone
Yes,
should
it
know
is.
about that.
Because they'll all get along. I've had a couple that got mauled, like when they're molting and they're losing their feathers,
What?
or especially when the rooster would get rough and tear up a couple,
Oh,
scratch them up, and they be bleeding. Yeah.
yeah, and we'd hear them fight sometimes too. We'd have to go outside and see what
Yep.
was wrong. That was definitely a sad and tragic chicken story. I want to hear the Jeff story of the chicken that came back to life.
Huh?
He had a
Came
chicken come
back to
back to
life.
life as he was burying it.
I've never seen that.
Injured by the other chickens. Someone needs to make a horror movie about killer chickens. That would be scary. Or cows. I almost got killed by cows. I'll tell that story one day when we do cow stories. Today is tragic chicken stories. The chicken had a hole. What don't like the thing? Don't chickens run around with their head off? Like if don't like their body lives even though their consciousness is not something. Because I I don't remember if we saw it or not. Because we did see a lot of dead chickens. They were always wringing the necks, and we made chicken gumbo a lot or chicken dishes. Um, and we used the chickens from the yard. And but the thing growing up that I always had in my head was that when if you chop the chicken's head off, they can still their body still move, right? Flaps around or walks around. And the other thing I associate with chickens growing up is voodoo, because I would read the encyclopedias and the stories about voodoo, and they'd have pictures of people with bloody chicken. It looks scary. So there was like this scary voodoo thing associated with chickens, and now I think it's just funny. A nerve reaction. That's what I want to be. I want to be cremated. Ever since I saw Serpent in the Rainbow, I don't want to take any chances. That would be a nightmare if I was like all comfortable thinking I was dead, and then suddenly I realized I wasn't. I want it to be as final as it can be. So please burn me, and then have a party afterward. A second line, like they do in New Orleans. Every time somebody dies, they have a big. You can Google second line videos. Everybody, all the musicians, like the jazz musicians, get out in the street with their brass and their drums, and people have their little umbrellas, the little tasseled umbrellas, and their boas, and it's a party, and you celebrate. And as you go down the streets, all the people can hear the second line coming, and anybody can join in. And so, like the whole neighborhoods just join the second line and march around the city for whoever died. So I want one of those. Hey, what is up? What's going on in the outside world today? I love your outfit.
Thank you. Not much, man. I just we had to go take Lindsay to get some blood work done. I had to drop something off at the AT&T store, and right now I was just tuning in to see what was going. Oh,
It's been a slow day, but and
I saw Chuck on there earlier, but
yeah, we were having some good chat. What I love that shirt. What is we were hoping to get like some real life people on the panel, like could start
yeah, I
merging the
know.
two realities.
I there was even this kid that I met this he's a pretty young kid, but he was like I had this kind of a casual conversation with him at one of the retail stores, and he mentioned I do my show every day.
I want to design some business card, like some logo business cards that anybody can download and print, and so all of our viewers can pass out the business cards if they want to get more people here.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I started trying to design some myself. Like I was trying to design some that were like for the show, and also for like the APOA thing, the Plague of Arrows thing, and stuff like that. They were going to be like, I was going to make them look like membership cards, like like you're a card carrying member.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, but I never looked into how much it cost you to make. I was using AI to try to design them, so so they never came out spelled right. But I could send you the link to the folder. But
did you just run over someone?
What? No, I didn't run over.
No, he just hit the curb.
Yeah, I barely hit the curb a little bit. It's a really narrow parking lot. I mean, it's super narrow. You can't really like move out of it.
We were both like, ah!
Is that your car squealing? So, yeah, not much going on today. We were just talking about random stuff, really.
Well, we can keep talking. I might as well I'm.
Oh, there was something I was supposed to ask you. Hang on, what was it? Fuck. Oh, Frank and I are trying to finish Survivor New Zealand, and we're wondering if you have a source for it, wherever you get your stuff from.
I've never looked for Survivor New Zealand before.
Season
but when
2,
I get home,
not season 1, but season 2.
Yeah, no, I'll check it out when I get home. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll never know until I look. It's like if you have to look for like specific things, it's like I haven't found like one great repository for Survivor content so far. So
I'll message you the exact one. Just
yeah, I mean, I should be able to find whole seasons, but for some reason, like a lot of the older Survivor, like some of them are like 2 or 3 years old, like the torrents are all dead for them or whatever, so you can't really find them very easily. I guess people kind of watch them and just kind of like they don't really go back to watch them again, So it's just kind of like.
People are fickle, yes, indeed, aren't they? They turn with the wind. They blow this way and that. But I'm see, but you hate them, but I'm fascinated. But I don't know why. I've always been that way. I love people. I'm fascinated by them. I can study people all day, and I know they can be horrible and evil and treat each other like crap and treat you like crap and betray and break and all that shit. But I still can't stop being fascinated by them and loving them. It's my weakness. It's. I'm definitely a people person. Yes, I am a strange little fellow. You are in the Outliers in Exile corner of the Panelverse. So,
It's our little corner, and we're proud of it. So.
strange monkey. Oh, thank you, Frank. Yep. So you're just tootling around in the car?
No, I mean I have to go. I have to go run an errand anyway, so I just figured like
Are
I'm
you? Is
already
it going to
out.
be an air? What air is it going to involve? People? Or are there going to be other people around?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay,
Possibly.
I'm excited, ready to go. I love running.
But I mean, I'll be. It's going to be about a 30-minute drive, so I'll be here talking, just chatting for a while.
Is that an Irish thing? The wakes in the house? I'm trying to think if
An Irish thing.
I don't know if our people did that. We always went to the. They didn't take very long. Like you would put them in the ground like the next day or two. But you I think you could go to the funeral home and observe them. I didn't do a lot of funerals as a kid. That's not something I. The weddings were grueling enough.
Oh my God, I've been to so many funerals.
And my people were very hardy too. Like they didn't really start dropping until I was an adult. But the first funeral I went to, I think I was well into my 20s.
I went to a lot of funerals whenever I was a kid, but like kind of like one of the things that made me sad
Nice.
about my grandfather dying like 2 years ago was that like he was like whenever we went to a funeral with my family, my grandfather would always like instead of like making me like sit through the service and stuff like that, we'd always like walk outside and like walk around like whatever little part of town we were in or something like that, and like get our minds out of it. He didn't like funerals much either, so like we always bought. It was one of the things we bought. Me and my grandfather used to be really close, and then like the closer he got to the end, like he got really angry a lot. Like I think it happens to like a lot of older people. Like get really angry and bitter, and like he clearly had issues with me towards the end, and it really bothers me that he died in that state, and like I never really found a way to like reconcile that. I don't know what I did really.
You didn't. It's nothing. None of it's about you. It's a shame you couldn't talk to him with it, but that's all his stuff. Especially if it just emerged randomly at the end like that.
I know. I don't. It's not something that like tears me up that much anymore. It did at the time. I mean, it was one of the many bad things that happened all in a row. With like my dad had a stroke, I got the vertigo thing, and my grandfather died. Like all within all those things happened like in pretty quick succession.
Yep.
So it was like literally like, and I'm like it's like my grandfather and then my dad and then me were like that was like the 3 generations of men of my family that were left, right? So like it was like all 3 generations of the men in my family were all like dying at the same time, I mean, I wasn't dying, but I felt like I was. And my dad, like he's still paralyzed on one side of his body from the stroke. And my grandfather actually died.
Do you have a chicken you can throw in there at all? Because that's the perfect tragic story.
Chicken.
A chicken?
We just do chicken and funerals. I guess we could expand the topic.
Chicken and I'm confused. I don't have any chickens. So.
Well, we were telling sad and tragic chicken stories earlier, and you had the perfect tragic part, but it just lacks a chicken. So, but we could always change the topic to funeral, just tragedy.
No, that's okay.
Lead up to
that's okay. We don't need to talk about funerals, but like I was thinking, I don't really have any Me and Lindsay, that's kind of funny you're saying that, because me and Lindsay were talking about owning chickens just like yesterday. We were like, I was telling her like, when I grow up, like my great grandmother, she kept like a chicken coop. She kept about 20, 30 hens at all times for eggs. And, like there was like 1 or 2 roosters, and like she kept like 20 or 30 hens. And And like when I was growing up, I used to go out every morning and like get a coffee, one of those old school like metal coffee cans, and you'd fill 2 of those up with chicken feed, and then you go out to the chicken feed yard and you'd spread it all around and go tick tick tick
Sprinkle
tick
the
tick
feed.
tick tick tick.
Yeah.
Yeah, sprinkle the feed over.
We had the
And
chicken wire.
then you feed the chickens, and then they all come out to eat, and then you go and collect their eggs, and you put the eggs in the basket, and then you go back inside. And like they weren't really like eating chickens, like they were for eggs, so we didn't really kill them, or they die occasionally. And if they died and they weren't like diseased or something, like they would, they might cook them, but I didn't really like, I don't know, I didn't get attached to the chickens, so they weren't like, none of them had separate personalities. They all were very dumb. So
Steve, do you have sad or tragic chicken stories?
Do I have what?
Sad or tragic chicken stories. Any chicken story will do, but if you can make it sad or tragic. And do they have chickens in Utah?
Yeah, we have chickens in Utah. I don't give a shit about chickens though.
Did you grow up with chickens?
Yeah, chickens
No.
much like cows are kind of like walking vegetables. Like they're not. Like...
Oh wait, I've got one. Chris didn't know the chicken dance.
Okay, that's not
Yeah.
a chicken story.
What's on
I
your
don't
mind?
have any.
I still don't know the chicken dance, and I'm proud of that.
What is the chicken dance? I had to learn some dance.
Some
during COVID.
asinine
just-
thing they do at weddings.
Yeah, just look online on YouTube somewhere, and you'll find the chicken dance somewhere.
See?
Shit's lame.
Yeah, it's just lame.
It is lame, but the fact that he didn't know it, I thought.
Well, I've been to a bunch of funerals in my life and never a wedding, so that.
You've never been to a wedding?
Well, I have now, but at the time, whenever me and Lindsay met, I had not been to a wedding.
Hmm.
None of my friends got married. None of my parents' friends got married. All my parents' friends were already married. There weren't any. I didn't really have. I don't really have a lot of other like family that's close enough. Like if they got married, they didn't invite us to the wedding. So like it just wasn't like something that I had to deal with.
We went to his sister's
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah, my sister's wedding I went to. Both my sister's weddings. Not both of her weddings, but 2 different sisters had weddings.
We were constantly going to weddings as kids.
What do you guys?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering what you guys think about children at weddings and funerals, because I have a rule that I don't allow allow my children at weddings or funerals until they've reached at least a level of maturity where they understand the gravity of the situation.
Oh Lord, you take all the fun out of it. We had a lot of fun at weddings growing up.
Well, I had children ruin 2 of my weddings, so I will not have them at my weddings.
Oh, that's not so much for them, but for everyone else, the guests.
Yeah, they need to be respectful and they need to be old
Yeah,
enough to
a case
understand
could
that.
be made. I mean, our weddings were kind of loose and free anyway, but if they were more like formal and fancy, a case definitely could have been made.
Yeah,
for
my
some of us, I think.
My middle sister's wedding was very like much more like a party than like a formal wedding type thing. So that one was the kids there were fine, and there weren't a lot of like small kids at my older sister's wedding. So and she's a good kid. So yeah, we didn't really have it, but yeah, funerals I kind of agree with that. I think I that's what I was talking about before you came on about like how my grandfather used to like. I was like the only child that would ever be at these funerals, like if the only other one was my sister that was, she was still too young. She was like a baby, so they didn't matter. So my grandfather would usually take me out. We'd walk around or something like that. Cause he didn't like funerals either. And just like, it was like too much he just felt like it was too much for a kid to like, kind of understand and deal with like the gravity of death or whatever. So. Especially since it was always family members I didn't even know. I didn't even know these people. Like I never met most of the people I went to funerals for. I think one of the people I went to a funeral for was somebody I met whenever I was a kid.
Did you cry at any of them?
No, I didn't know who they were.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the weddings specifically, they're about the couple. Like your kid starts crying in the middle of it or acting up, throwing shit, getting in fights with their siblings.
Just take them out.
It detracts from the ceremony. Even if you take them out after they've already done it, they've already distracted who should be the main focus of it, which is the bride and the groom. And then at funerals, I can kind of forgive it at funerals, but they still need to be like educated on the correct etiquette at funerals, like don't jump around on the fucking caskets and shit like that. But yeah, I've had
jumped on a casket.
Yeah, I watched one kid jump on a casket.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I thought you were joking.
No, I've seen it.
I mean,
What's up, guys?
But I've also buried too many children to be too critical. So yeah.
That's really.
well,
That's really hard.
speaking of funerals, Jeff, you had a chicken story about it.
I did.
That came back to life.
Well, it was my first flock that I ever had here. It was before I had my invisible fence up for the dogs. It was like 2018, maybe. And well, I had a pack of coyotes come through here and rip apart my chicken coop, and basically they either killed, mortally wounded, or they left the remainder. There were about 4 chickens that were suffering. So I thought the most painless way to deal with it would be to use the stick and break their neck method, which would basically put a stick behind their neck. I'd have to look it up again. I can't even remember the technique.
Yeah, but
I'm
pull
never
really
gonna.
hard.
Right. Well, it's something like that. I'm never going to do this again, though. Never doing it again. I'm doing clean heads off, quick. I'm just going to, we're going to chop it. There's a method I saw that a lot of people use where they just put the chickens inside a cone and then pull the head down and slice it real quick. So I feel like that's the definite way to make sure they're dead, because I'm carrying this chicken corpse, what I thought was a corpse, up into the woods, and I go to put it down and it starts flapping around again, and I just it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I mean, I don't even know how the chicken was still alive to begin with. It had a giant hole in its side from whatever.
Was it just the nerves, those autonomic nerves?
Well, it looked like it was breathing, so I actually pulled out a knife and cut the head off at that point to make sure it was dead.
Well, that sounds humane.
Even though they're animals, that's still got to bother you a little bit,
Oh, it did. It still does when I think about it. So it's like, all right, number one, I need a sharper knife, and
sorry, I'm laughing, dude.
Well, you gotta laugh about it. You learn these lessons, right? Learn these lessons. The beard gets longer. Soon it'll be as long as Steve's.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's good to see you all. I've been watching. I just been a little busy.
What's going on with you? You have some news in your life, huh?
Yeah. Me and the girlfriend. Well, she's not my girlfriend anymore because she's my fiance. So.
Nice. Congratulations.
There's that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That happened fast.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, it's cool.
You're so chill about it.
She's not really thrilled.
I'm not judging it.
She's not thrilled. What?
She's not thrilled with like the whole YouTube universe thing. She doesn't like being talked about on the YouTubes. So.
Oh well,
But I will share, I will share that, we've known each other a couple of years. We've worked together, and
okay.
Yeah. So
she was newish.
No. I've kind of mentioned it before. Our relationship, really started seeing each other probably right after Thanksgiving-ish, around then. But yeah, she's cool. She never wants to be on YouTube. But her position, and I'm trying to convince her otherwise, because she just thinks everybody on the internet is insane. Of course, some of the people I've shown her would be like Illumitami and
okay, dude, if you introduce somebody to the internet with Illumitami, every person every same person you ever thought would never go back to the internet. They'd be like, "Oh fuck this!" It'd be like what? Like you take somebody out to like, "Hey, you want to go to a dance club tonight?" And you take them to like a swingers club the first time. And there's like people it's like if someone's not prepared for that,
it was a mistake. I admit it. I've made lots of mistakes, and
It was a mistake.
You know, yeah. But you know, she's just like more of a private type person. You know, we were both third shifters, and you know, she's always worked warehouse jobs because she hates people in general. And I only just got into like the warehouse type job a couple years ago when I started there. And I came from like an office environment and stuff. So um, you know, it's been a transformation. Plus the fact that you know I've lost over 115 pounds now in the last 2 years. So,
Fucking
Oh
hey.
wow.
but yeah, you know,
Congratulations,
just
man.
working my ass off. I got a job. I put myself in a position where I had to, you know, work and get a job to basically work out, and that's what I did with the whole loading trucks thing. So
Very cool.
it's been fun. It's simple and I really enjoy it. So like
You
I
wanna-
said too, they're trying to make me a trainer, which they wanted to do this to me last year and I resisted, but I gave in.
You don't want to be a trainer?
Well, I didn't at
I
first.
love,
And a lot of that was
like
just
my
confidence, you know. But another year, and I think I've developed.
my favorite thing I ever did for Amazon was being a trainer. I loved being a trainer.
Oh no,
And I mean,
kidding.
I didn't just love it. I didn't love it just because it was like easy or something like that. I loved the work I did. Like I really, I don't know. Like for me personally, I'm really good at communicating like actual training stuff to people in a way where they're actually engaged and like they actually learn their jobs. Like I had like the highest rate of like of retainment on any trainer in our entire building. Like
They fired
like
your
my
ass.
the people I actually trained like thanked me constantly for actually teaching them stuff and stuff like that. Man, I love being a trainer. It was like it was as rewarding as teaching has been in any other aspect I've ever done. And like I mean, it was really a way to like you know you have to there'll be a few difficult people for the most part. You know, most of the people they just need a job. They just want to learn. You know, they just want to know how. They just want to know what to do when they get out the floor. And a lot of the trainers that would go in there would just like sit there and just robotically read off the script thing, and wouldn't try to like engage or even have like a personality. And
Well,
like
you know,
all
and
you
people
like
don't all understand the same
bare
way.
minimum. Just the bare minimum of just like talking like a person to them, and like it makes the world a difference, man. Like I mean, I'm not saying for you, I don't know your personality well enough, but like, man, like if somebody gave me, if I was in a warehouse type job and like somebody gave me up to be a trainer again, I'd take it in a heartbeat. Like, in fact, like, that's a job I could probably do with my vertigo. I wish they would let me be a trainer.
You
Well,
know, over the years
tell me
in
about
my
this story.
experience, I learned the heat models pretty well. And the heat model, it's an acronym for you hear them, you empathize, you acknowledge, then you treat them as you want to be treated, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that was drilled into me in my
kindergarten. That seems
yeah.
so basic.
It does. But you know, these are training materials for adults.
Dude, I love training people, man. I've trained so many mechanics when I was a mechanic. I loved it. And now I help with training new people in the field that I work in now, which is a highly technical field. So I love it. I fucking love watching it. Like in their head, they finally grasp what it is that you're trying to explain to them. Dude, there's nothing better than
exactly,
that.
And finding like you have to find certain ways that some people don't always learn the same way. So you got to get like a read and figure them out and kind of figure out how they're going to learn.
That's what special ed was. Like that's what I liked about it. You had to learn from each kid how to teach them. It was different for each one.
You know, I like my job. I like my job for the fact that I work really hard and I'm always tired and I sweat, you know, constantly while I'm doing it. That was one of my cautions about even considering the training job is I wouldn't be able to work as hard. But
because you want the activity.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And when I had said that to my manager, who'd asked me for the 50th time, he's like, "Dude, you could work as hard as you want. Nobody's gonna stop me."
Nice.
Oh yeah, when I was a trainer, I used to go out and help out on the floor all the time, like because I'd follow my trainees and stuff like that. So I'd go out there and to pick or pack. I was at Amazon, you know. So I go in to pick or pack, and I'd like find my
Don't work
trainees.
at Amazon, but I do work someplace similar.
Right, yeah. I'm just saying, but like I worked at Amazon, and so like, you know, I'd go out there with my trainees and I'd go and like just like engage with them like
Bad
I think
reception.
we lost them.
and
We lost them. He's running over more people.
You got your classes and stuff, but like I got to set when my classes were.
Well, Liv,
I got to do my evaluation.
Need
to
a
look
what?
for Jeff. Oh. Liv, we need a sad and tragic chicken story from you. Do you have a chicken story? You grew up in Tennessee. You've got to have some.
Oh
chicken
yeah,
story.
I mean, I've got.
Weren't you born
I've
in
got-
Kentucky though? You were born.
I was born in Kentucky, but I grew up in Tennessee, but then all of my family was from like Kentucky and Ohio and stuff. So we spent a lot of time up there. My great uncle, they had chickens. So every time we would go up there, we would always fuck around with the chickens.
Clarify,
I mean, like we'd just
because
help
that is a
feed.
big.
I mean, we just like go and like help feed them. There was one time where one of the chickens got out of the coop, and me and my cousin had to chase it down. We were like 12, 10, something like that. So we were just like running all around this fucking big old yard, just like trying to fucking chase this thing down.
Mardi Gras.
Chickens are fucking fast.
Yeah.
People don't. If a chicken does not want you to catch up to it, you will not catch up to it. those fuckers are crafty. We ended up having to just herd it. We herded it and then got my great uncle to herd it back into the coop. But he was worried because they had there was like a fox or something. It was some sort of predator that had gotten one of their chickens the week before. So he was like adding a bunch of like security features to the coop. Like he had to reinforce like the top because like he just put like some netting over the top of the coop initially, but then the thing chewed through the netting. So he actually went out and got like a whole other chain link fence and used the other chain link fence as the roof of that, just to make sure that fucking animals wouldn't get the chickens. Yeah, I'm not quite a story so much as I was around chickens when I was younger.
Well, that was certainly sad story. Well, thank you for telling us.
You want to hear a sad story? Did y'all hear about the Key Bridge, Francis Scott Key Bridge?
Yeah, today is it the
Baltimore?
in Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore.
Yes.
Yeah. A
Just
barge hit the bridge, and there are six people currently unaccounted for.
Jesus.
It happened at night, thankfully, so they closed off the bridge, and all that stuff. But there were like construction workers still on the bridge when it hit.
Holy shit! Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it right now.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Boy, someone's going to prison. Not even just getting fired; they're going to fucking prison.
Yeah. Apparently, the ship was experiencing some sort of malfunction. I was watching. I discovered this guy who his like whole thing is talking about like shipping and stuff like that, and he was saying that basically right before it hit, you could see like all the lights on the ship flickering. They went off, and then suddenly like it started billowing black smoke and stuff, and the lights came back on, which at least to him said that it was probably like an engine they were having engine trouble.
Sounds like a runaway diesel problem, and they tried to shut it off.
Yeah, but the rudder,
that's not how diesels work.
Yeah, the rudder I guess was stuck in the turning position, so it turned.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hit the truss.
It looks like they took out like half the fucking bridge. Like it's a big ass bridge.
Yeah, because it was a big ass ship that hit it.
Well, that too. But so was it closed for construction?
It wasn't closed for construction, but they had apparently the crew had warned the port authorities. So
Oh, so they were able to get people off.
Yeah, they were able to
bridge?
get people off the bridge.
Wow.
So
That could have been bad.
It could have been really bad if that had happened like during like the day. Oh God, like that's one of the busiest bridges in the world, or in the
Yeah.
United States at least.
Jesus.
I just want to know if Mothman was involved.
Probably.
Mothman's been
Wow.
involved in like 3 bridge collapses. I just want to know if was Mothman there? Was he warning people again without like warning them? I mean, Mothman's the most useless like omen of all time. But like, you know, he shows up and he harasses people, and then like bridges collapse, and they were just like, okay, I don't believe in Mothman, by the way. I just think it's hilarious. I love that movie, The Mothman Prophecies, is one of like the funniest, and yet it starts out as one of the creepiest horror movies ever made. By the end of it, it's so stupid that like I can't help but laugh at like every scene of it. It's just.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love. Actually, I'd rewatch that if you guys like to like come on to watch the rewatch the Mothman Prophecies. I'd watch that again. It's a fun, silly horror movie.
Have not seen it. But yeah, no. Biden was talking about how federal government's gonna help pay for it. It's apparently that entire port is like super important. They're hoping to get it reopened soon after they find at least the bodies of the 6 missing people right now. They did get 2 people there, so 8 people fell into the water, and they fished out 2 of them. Both of whom are alive. 1 is in critical condition though, so there is some silver lining, which is we're able to save some people. But yeah, I heard about that, and that's not the only water-based news. Apparently, the United States is going ahead with their pier plan over in Gaza. They're going to be.
You're trying to tie that to water so you could slip it into the conversation.
It's new. It's news.
Yeah,
it's relevant.
What's
just,
the
it's
pier
just
plan?
happening? They're trying to put together some sort of temporary pier so that they can get food into Gaza, considering that it's
like a pier, like a dock.
Yeah, like a dock.
A pier. Okay. Are they going to put a Ferris wheel on it?
Probably not. It's probably not going to be that permanent. All the solutions that I've seen be put forward all seem to be pretty temporary. They're talking about doing like the transferring piers, where like they'll have basically a bunch of piers anchored out in the ocean. They'll have the ships dock in that, and they'll get smaller ships to take it up to the coast. They're also talking about like, doing the thing where they'll take a bunch of barges and just like strap them together up to the beaches.
We're gonna do that for the Israelis, or are we gonna use the piers ourselves to go in and?
Well, we're gonna do that for Gazans. Israel doesn't want us to do it because
for the Gazan people.
Yeah,
why are we doing it for them?
Because they're in famine. They're literally starving. They are current.
So this is to get aid, not for combat, but to get aid to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the UN has said that currently Gaza is in stage 5, which is the worst stage of starvation. They are currently undergoing famine.
They're doing it so that they have the pieces in place for when they go to help Taiwan.
I'm not sure how that's relevant, but
right around the corner. And instead of going all the way from the U.S., they're more than halfway there.
No, I don't know why it's just.
What is giving aid to Gaza have to do with Taiwan?
The pier.
I'm talking about the temporary pier concept.
Well,
see, they did that. They did that in World War II. They was able to.
We've done it several times.
Yeah,
we've done it several times. Frank, it is in the news.
Not anything ridiculous.
Yeah. No. It's not ridiculous at all. We've done this kind. We did this thing in World War II. We did it in Vietnam. We have whole like sections of our military. If it's that bad, why isn't it on the news? It is on the news. That's where I heard it. Frank.
Maybe it's not on Canada news.
I mean, maybe.
What's he said he didn't hear of?
The
pier?
No, that Gaza is currently undergoing famine. I mean, maybe you're just not, paying attention to the news. That could also be.
Yeah, because Egypt ain't really doing anything to help them.
I mean, neither is Israel, and that's kind of the problem. Like, is nobody's letting food.
Why would Israel do something to help the country that they're at war with and attack?
A, Gaza isn't a country. B, they're not at war with a country. C, hey Jeff, where is Gaza?
That's why, because they're not officially a country. Otherwise, they would.
Well, no. Where is Gaza, Jeff?
That's why they're not there.
Jeff, what country is Gaza in?
How is that an answer to the question I asked?
Well, I'm about to answer it.
Why would Israel help the entity, whatever you want to call it, that they're attacking? And your answer was it's not a country.
Well, so first off, the entity that they're allegedly attacking,
whatever it is, why would they be helping these people? It seemed like a total deflection.
That's typical warfare. You starve them out where they turn on their own. Well, they'll surrender their Hamas.
Hey Chuck,
yeah.
that's called a war crime. That's a war crime. What you're describing is
a war crime. No,
yeah, but they already have
it's
procedures in place for prosecuting war crimes, so that's nothing you have to worry about.
Yeah, collective punishment, which is what you're describing, Chuck.
But I'm asking why they would help. Because Chuck said Egypt's not doing anything, and you said, well, Israel's not doing anything either. But it's odd that the expectation is that Israel would do something.
It's less about them helping, and it's more about them preventing other entities from giving food to people who are starving.
Oh, okay.
So currently there are UN organizations that are attempting to get food into Gaza to get to the Palestinians who are starving, and Israel and Egypt are preventing that.
God, it'd be nice if Hamas could do something to help facilitate all this too.
They are. They fire rockets.
How is Hamas supposed to get those?
I mean, it's their people. It'd be nice if they would cooperate and help facilitate aid getting to their people.
Well, I mean, that they would if they could, at least allegedly, considering they're there and they're starving too.
Stopping them?
Well, Israel is stopping them as part of the problem.
Israel's stopping Hamas from.
Israel's stopping the UN from getting aid to Palestinians.
No, I meant Hamas. I said it would be nice if Hamas helped out, like got involved in the solution.
I mean, sure.
And then you've talked about everything around but Hamas.
I don't live support.
No,
you're robotic.
Jeff thinks I support Hamas. That's fine.
You're robotic. All I did was ask a question. I didn't get an answer. You're a bright guy. If you had an answer, it's not that difficult of a question. You would have given it to me.
I've literally answered
for whatever reason. It was only a comment. I'm willing to move on.
It's not a dancing around. I'm fucking sick of this shit. You're not the first person who's done this shit. It's like everyone.
What?
Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas?
I never. Somebody rewind the stream and tell me if I once said, "Do you condemn Hamas?" I didn't.
I mean, you've said this several times, and
I've in your head. I didn't say that once.
I've talked.
Let's just move on.
Several times. No. Hang on. I've condemned Hamas several times.
Sorry.
In conversation.
But I didn't say anything. You're hearing something in the conversation that I didn't say.
And you're
at this point, I think it's good to just kind of reset and move on, and we could always come back to it. It's on the stream. We could rewatch it later and see.
Yeah, because the truth is, I don't think we'll ever know what the real story is.
No, we'll know. That's the thing about history. Just like we'll, we figured out about. The Holocaust, we figured out about the Bosnian genocide. The information will come out, and Jeff will deny that he knew about it or supported any of it, or
even though we have the history, we've had it for decades.
Well, yeah,
And we've
but
gone
people-
over this tree multiple times, and it did seem to make a difference. So I think having the history is not much of an answer.
That doesn't change things. I mean, there are people today who will like
Right, because
defend
people are
Nazi
going to
genocide.
interpret. They're going to
Yeah.
see what they want in the history and interpret it how they want. So the
Yeah.
history itself, the data or the facts, doesn't seem to matter much.
And not to you, but you know,
Not to anyone that I've.
I mean,
tried
it
to
matters.
present.
It matters to me, but I'm not convinced that it matters to you. So
Okay, well, I'm willing to move on.
Man, I've zoned out for like the last 2 fucking years on this panel.
Oh,
I wasn't paying attention.
No idea what's going on.
what we're figuring out is the Earth is a square, not a cube. It's a square. It's a flat square.
Lord.
Oh my god, I fucking hate flat earthers so bad, dude.
uh-oh. There's probably
You
a few, more than a few in
I
the
kind of
audience.
have a love-hate relationship.
I don't hate them. I just don't understand how
I want to
they
understand.
get to where they get.
I mean, I can appreciate questioning the status quo, but I mean, when you're faced with so much insurmountable fucking evidence and you still ignore it,
Steve, I heard the
respect and I have
best
no patience.
answer the other day.
Oh,
The best answer. He said, because I can see through a pair of binoculars, therefore the earth is flat.
What?
Jesus
But
Christ!
your eyes are round.
I couldn't.
Light doesn't work like that.
I couldn't get him to.
And we can literally get away from the Earth and look at it.
Yeah.
Honestly, flat Earth is kind of like, it's like quaint, right? Like I miss the days where flat Earth was like the craziest conspiracy theory,
right?
That people believed in.
I still feel like it
crazy
is.
One, craziest.
I mean, there's a whole host of them.
The
One
Satan,
of the
baby
craziest, I'm sure.
Adrenochrome.
I mean,
I was hoping that the flat Earth movement would actually spur some like investment into science and space exploration, so that we could just turn around and point and laugh.
Nah,
like we told you the whole time.
It just turned into
QAnon. They have any well-rounded ideas, anyways.
It turned into QAnon.
Well-rounded.
Well, I mean, if you look at like
Steve.
the sort of like online flat Earth movement, ever since like 2016.
What the hell does flat Earth have to do with fucking QAnon?
Actually,
is it the type of people that are?
Yeah. It's more so the type of people who got pulled into the flat Earth movement are now getting pulled into areas like QAnon.
What the fuck is wrong with these fucking people? Jesus,
I don't know, man.
It's people, man.
It's you know what it is. You know what it is. It's a giant sphere of individuals.
They're all over, they're around the world, aren't they?
Long, dude.
Yeah, there was like the flat Earth, the flat Earth organization. They're like, we have members from all around the globe.
Yeah, we have members globally. Oh my god!
See, and this is what drew me into the panelverse almost in a way, like watching Limatami go after the flat earthers, because he's good. He's good.
Really?
He's really good at that.
I didn't even know they were. I never met flat Earth. I didn't know there were people.
Because you know how good Tommy is just the random insults.
Oh god, I gotta show you this book. My son bought a book because he wanted to read it, and that's the name of it: How to Talk to a Science
Denier.
Wow.
Easy, just don't.
Well, you know, I don't think that's the right approach about just not talking to people. You only bring light to the darkness, man. So
no, I know.
You only challenge yourself by hanging out with people that don't agree with you. Like, what's the point of being around a bunch of yes friends, you know?
It's not quite about that. It's more about, I think, the way people disagree, right? Like, I mean, I talk to people who I disagree with all the time. It's, knowing. It's about knowing.
I think it's like, the amount of spoons that you're willing to give to it, really.
Yeah.
Like, how many spoons are you willing to give to these fucking people when they've denied every fucking truth that has been presented to them, and then on top of that, they go into these kind of theories that are completely, they're completely testable. And then on other occasions, they'll promote these ideas that are just completely unfalsifiable. Like, meaning, you like the example of an
Doesn't
unfalsifiable
the
claim.
experience of relating this reinforce your own beliefs and understandings? I mean, they get challenged on these things. I mean, for me, it's
Yeah.
sort of a practice.
That works if you're approaching this from like a, I guess, like a reasonable approach. But like the thing is, especially with like flat earthers, I have talked to like flat earthers.
They're
Yeah.
unreasonable.
Yeah,
They call me a Fed and stuff. It's crazy.
yeah. Or like another thing is like people who there's a specific contingent of the anti-vax movement. There's people who think that vaccines cause autism. That specific contingent is like
Isn't Jim Carrey on
completely
that
unhinged.
bandwagon for a while?
I probably.
That contingent is what?
They're completely unhinged. There is literally no evidence that vaccines cause autism.
None.
There's
true.
zero.
That is true.
And yet there are still people who like vehemently defend that position.
There was
Yeah,
one study that
I
drew a correlation, but correlation isn't causation.
I
Well,
hardly.
they're fringe. They're more fringe now.
But that
because
study
now,
was proven wrong. You're right, though. The study was proven wrong many times.
That right there. So let's fucking put a pin in this one, because this fucking drives me crazy. This is exactly why you don't falsify your studies. Like this is why everybody is so fucking critical of all of these like academic papers and all this other shit. It's because it's like, don't fuck with the science.
Yeah.
Like if you fuck with the science, we have fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Stop fucking with the science and just do your fucking job as an ethical scientist.
Yeah.
That guy caused more fucking damage and probably more death in this fucking world.
Yeah.
By publishing a deeply, deeply fraudulent fucking stucking.
It wasn't even just like wrong. It was fraudulent. They intentionally
did
it fraudulently. There's fucking, what was it? There were several like in-depth thing. There was a what's that? There was a journalist who did like this huge in-depth. There's a documentary on it. I can't remember.
Matt Taibbi did a lot of work on it.
Oh, yeah, Matt Taibbi.
He covered the grievance papers with Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay and what was her name?
Rose.
Yeah, Helen Pluckrose. Yeah, they did the grievance papers, and Matt Taibbi covered that. That was to show how deeply fucked up and flawed the fucking academic system is for approving papers. It was a fucking joke.
Well, the funny thing was, it wasn't even. It's not even like that. It wasn't even like a full paper. It was like they did like it was like a preliminary, like a pilot thing, and then they got it, quote unquote, published in a paper. It didn't go through peer review process, nothing. But like people, people like held it up as like, oh, this is the study that proves the link between vaccines and it's like people still do. I have a I have a family member who I had a conversation with her, I don't know, like a year or 2 years ago on this, and she brought up like that was the thing she brought up, and I was like, Aunt Lisa, this is your come on, like you're an adult, you can vote. Please tell me you have more reasoning capacity than this. Like
the biggest issue I have with them is the fact that like they are so hell-bent on demonizing autism over the benefits of preventative maintenance, like preventative medicine. Like that's what they're doing, is they're saying autism is so fucking bad that I'm not going to vaccinate my child against a completely preventable and painful fucking disease because of X this thing, and I'm going to ignore all fucking evidence to the contrary. Yeah. Like that's the part that fucking bothers me, is they're demonizing people who have autism like it's some kind of fucking scarlet letter of fucking disorders. You know, it's just
our whole world is like autistic.
I think it's dying out though. The trend is away from
I will address Provo in I think the way that I think it ought be approached, which is the same way that I would address somebody who's flat Earth. There's a lot of nuance into the actual science that goes into vaccines and vaccine research. But like, regardless of that nuance, Provo, if your position is that like vaccines don't work or that vaccines cause a bunch of these things, like I'm sorry to tell you, but like you are just fucking wrong. Like you can say all of these things, you can make a lot of claims, but until you can back up your claims with scientific evidence, I'm gonna go with the scientific
That's what I
evidence.
say on here all the time.
Yeah.
Now you know how I feel.
Yeah, the scientific evidence is overwhelming in favor of vaccines, and like I did not get the COVID vaccines because I have a distrust of the government, but I fully believe in vaccination for children. Like all of my kids are vaccinated. If I ever had another one, God forbid, I'd fucking kill myself. But if I had another kid, I'd make sure that they were fucking vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like it's like like the vaccinations that we have today for children. Like what is it, Tdap and all these other ones. I think it was like smallpox or something like that. Like these are tried and true fucking vaccines that we know work. They've been studied the absolute shit out of, and there's
Yep.
never been any scientific evidence found that these vaccines cause any kind of fucking disorder. So like the science is over fucking whelming. And if you want to just claim, well, yeah, and if you just want to claim that these studies is evidence to the contrary, I would submit to you that they're not contrary at all, because if you really deeply look at the science and then you look at the refutations that were done on those studies, again, it becomes so over fucking whelming that those studies were wrong that to ignore that is borderline incompetence.
Yeah, Provo, I'm not ignoring your quote unquote scientific points.
I get heated about this shit, man. This fucking pisses me off,
yeah,
man.
like, dude, okay, so like we had almost eradicated smallpox, okay, using vaccinations, and the reason why it came back is because of the anti-vax movement.
How about polio? Fucking polio.
Is polio coming back?
There's been a few cases of it, yeah, and it was functionally eradicated. Like, does anybody understand how fucking painful and miserable fucking polio is? How damaging, how painful that shit is? Like, fuck.
And it's permanent, and it can cause hearing loss and brain damage.
Yeah, I would much rather have my child have autism than be
caused by a bacterial infection
polio
for spinal meningitis.
Yeah.
Do they still have to vaccinate to enter public school?
Yes.
Some do. Some you're allowed a religious waiver, but usually those parents are really ostracized.
Yeah. Yeah. The big problem is that there are private schools that have been found to be attempting to get around a lot of those regulations. It's one of my many issues with the private schooling system, which is that it's not,
because some private schools have tried to get around these regulations. The whole system is invalidated.
Well, it's more about like, I think the issue is that private schools and like private homeschooling organizations are given more leeway from the regulations than I think.
What are you basing that on? That they're giving more leeway?
By the fact that they have been getting around this. They have been.
What is getting around a regulation look like? Is it a chart or something I can look at and see that?
Well, if you're a private organization, you don't have to follow federal regulations necessarily. So private schools can make their own choices on what they are willing to allow and not allow, because they don't accept federal money, so they're not beholden to the federal government for guidelines.
Yeah.
So there's easy ways to get around that.
Yeah, and because of that, you'll get kids that aren't vaccinated. Now, thankfully, even with all of these, even with these numbers of private schools that will skirt around the regulations, most people within our society are pro-vaccine. Will get their kids vaccinated, which is good. However, given that the anti-vax movement has basically been breathed new life into with all the COVID conspiracy stuff, I do think it's something that we will have to address in the coming years.
How and who?
Well, I think it's becoming more common. The anti-vax
You mean
movement,
as these diseases come back?
yes. Yeah, as you start to see the vaccination rates decrease because of a lot of these conspiracies, we will start to, have more problems that we had previously gotten rid of, or at least minimized.
So
As
really, Lib, we should address this. So Provo did make a good point. I want to give him credit where credit is due. He said usually there's 3 forms of exemptions: religious, medical, and philosophical. I don't give a fuck about the last part because I don't care. But the first part, that is valid. So there is religious, there is medical issues. So if you have a medical issue that will adversely be reacted to any number of the components of a vaccine, absolutely, that's a perfectly valid perspective. Philosophical, you're gonna have to fucking draw that one out a little bit more because I'm not confident that that is an actual thing. But I wanted to give Provo a little bit of credit where credit was due, and he is right. Religious and medical exemptions do exist.
Yeah, medical exemptions exist because there are people who especially people. So like the biggest proportion of the medical exemptions go towards, to my understanding, go towards people who have compromised immune systems, which is a medical issue. And but here's the thing.
Yeah, my son has one.
Yeah, those are the
Provo,
people.
you're welcome to come up and join.
Provo
is also on the spectrum.
Promise I'll behave.
Those are the people for whom the vaccines are probably the most important, because they're the people who can't be inoculated against these kinds of things. So it's important that the rest of us are, because the rest of us could then spread it to, if we're not vaccinated, and spread it. Yes.
I wanted to bring chickens back into the conversation. But also talking about a vaccine.
Sure.
And I'm going to post the link in our private chat.
Sure.
Waterboy. Provo, you scared?
Tell me what you think about that.
Content himself.
I said I'd behave.
This is a twist, and it is valid to our discussion. And why? Well, I still agree with Steve. Yes, vaccines have been proven, but you got to be able to read and research the studies for yourself to understand what you're getting when you're getting a vaccine.
Well, yeah, you got to learn how to find reputations of studies. You got to find out. There's a lot. Like one thing I learned when I was starting to research how to
still
actually
believe
read
that
studies.
Everybody should have the choice, though. You should still have the choice
absolutely.
to say no.
But it affects things like disease.
But
it affects
if you're vaccinated, aren't you protected? If you're vaccinated, aren't you protected from people who aren't?
Well, yes, but the problem is there are people who literally can't be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Okay.
My son can't be.
And I believe living in a society, we do actually have there are such a thing as social responsibilities, and I do think one of the social responsibilities that
you can push that agenda to say yes, but when you force people to it, that's when they become suspicious.
I mean, sure, that's fine. You can be suspicious. However, that doesn't change the fact that the social benefit to
but you're gonna get me anyway.
Well, I mean, sure, yeah, we're talking about diseases that have killed millions of people.
See, and this is the emotional argument that you're making.
Yeah, it is an emotional argument.
Do we currently force? Do you have a problem with requiring it for public school to enter public school? Is that considered force?
There was talk of forcing everyone to get the COVID vaccine, and that
I didn't hear
never really materialized.
I mean, I didn't hear,
it was the same rhetoric.
I heard a lot of
fear
mongering
kind of stuff.
I heard a lot of fear mongering about it being a force thing. But to my knowledge, the quote unquote force came from private companies.
Did you read that article that I posted?
I'm reading it right now.
No. That is a thing with vaccines.
So what is it? What's the title of the article? It's from 2015. So this is before wokeism started destroying everything.
Makes its virus more dangerous. Yeah, no, that's a problem with that specific vaccine. Well, hang on. The military. Okay, so the military makes you do a lot of things. Okay, Provo. The military also makes them take a lot of vaccines.
Yeah, I can confirm.
If you have a problem with that, then I would like for you.
Right, but that's civilian. There's a distinction between.
No. You don't have a license when you're in the military.
Yeah, again, Provo, you would then have to, force them. Yeah, they force them to do a lot of things, Provo. Or do you take issue with other things that they force them to do? Because if that's your issue, then talk about that, not the COVID.
The military no longer requires the COVID vaccine, by the way.
Yeah, which is fine. think that makes sense. I have some friends in the military.
But there
Even
was,
though,
the speech that we got, they're losing their patience with us, unvaccinated people and whatnot. And it was just a
Yeah.
really weird, intimidating kind of time. Like, no, I don't want this. I'm fine. I've
I mean,
been
that's,
sick before.
I mean, you
I'm
can,
not high risk. I have no reason to.
well, but
Yeah.
so you may not personally have a reason to. However, like, okay, so I had family members who died. Sorry, I had a family member who died of COVID. Okay. Like, it's not it wasn't like a nothing burger. Making sure people are vaccinated did save lives. A lot of them. Like, pretending like this, that
Really?
yes, pretending like it only
Mm.
affects you
Um,
is very much ignoring the fact that you live in a society.
Well, so I'm gonna challenge you on that though,
Sure.
because
yeah, I was going
the
to
single
too.
best argument against this really is that even if I don't get the vaccine and you do, you should already be covered.
Right.
Like whether or not I get the
I said that
vaccine,
earlier.
it should be irrelevant at that point.
What about the
You know what
people
I
who
mean?
can't get
So
the
that
vaccine?
that would
But
be my
it
So you're
cuts
challenge.
saying it
down
only works
on
if
the
the
infection
Kool-Aid
rates.
only works if
You're
everybody drinks it.
You're trying to reduce the vectors that the disease has to travel through.
No, you're right, Provo. I don't believe in personal sovereignty in the way that you're talking about it. You're right. But
do.
I think that I think that your version, the kind of personal sovereignty you're talking about, I don't believe most people believe in that. Because if that were true, then like we wouldn't have, like, I don't think we would have a society in a functioning society if that kind of personal sovereignty was a thing. Because if that were the case, then like how do you then speed limits are a violation of my personal sovereignty. Similarly, because I mean,
I was just gonna say speed limit. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that we can justify that are
I was just gonna say.
I
that are
think I think
universally
right
good for
now,
everybody.
and I think vaccinations are one of those.
But you know what though? We don't force people to drive the speed limit. We punish them when they don't. So there's a little bit of a difference there.
With the blow darts thing that you sound just like that guy. Are you that guy that was shooting blow darts, talking about shooting people with blow darts?
No,
That
I
fucking
wasn't.
James O'Keefe found.
No.
Not you, Steve. Lib. Are
Oh.
you the blow darts guy?
No, again, I don't believe the COVID vaccine should have been like a governmentally like mandated thing.
Oh, you know what? Flo's right. We should stop saying the
Well,
V word.
people have said on here plenty of times and nothing's happened. Is that one of the?
I think they've
Okay.
relaxed a little bit on it. I don't really know. I mean, we're not.
First of all, this is an
medical
entertainment
professionals.
channel. None of this is presented as information.
purely fun. No educational value
but
whatsoever.
what are y'all scared of? What's the worst?
No
What's
entertainment
going to
value
happen? We're just
whatsoever.
having an honest conversation about vaccines. We're not doing anything to me that
You know,
anyone could object to.
I think the biggest problem with the whole vaccine movement with the COVID vaccine really was the way that the federal government and a lot of governments actually handled it. Whereas, there was a lot of contradictions, and I understand that it was a very hectic time. We were trying to get it under wraps and everything like that. But when you had Fauci going back on his word, saying things that were untrue, and then coming back and saying he never said them, and then on top of that, and this was my biggest issue. Biggest issue where they said you don't need to get your kids vaccinated. It does not generally travel with children. They're not at risk, yada yada yada. And now for the last year, they've been pushing this: get your kids vaccinated, get your kid And it's just, well, which one is it?
Well, information changes, especially with the new
information does change. Absolutely.
I can sit here and say that I believe that the way that the CDC like handled it, especially initially, was very poor. But like that doesn't change like the fact that like it is probably a good idea for kids to be vaccinated. That
you can say that.
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine, but that's not what they said.
It's probably a good idea just to listen to your doctor, in general.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah.
But the thing is, like, nobody knew. Everybody was learning together as we went because it was a new
But the thing is,
situation.
the thing
My
that I
doctor
always
didn't say shit about it. I mean, I didn't even ask about
the
it.
thing
But
that I always get back to is that like there were countries that definitely responded to basically everything COVID related better than we here in America did. As in like better, as in more effective, as in more what's the
any of them
respecting of people's
were any of
personal
them the
liberties.
same, though?
Like
Respect.
for instance, the
whatever.
UK. Okay, in the UK, their vaccination rate was like fucking
Look at the
astronomically
size
better
of
than
the UK,
ours.
though, Liv. Look at the size of the UK compared to the United States, though. It's a much different comparison.
Well,
in terms
see
of
here's
size.
the thing. See here's the problem with that argument is when you're talking about size, if you're not bringing up economics of scale, you're being dishonest. Because sure, we are bigger. However, we also as a
What if you're just being ignorant, not dishonest? You're so cynical.
He's allowed to be cynical.
Yeah, I'm allowed to point it out.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is I've heard people talk about how, oh, we can't do something in America because we're bigger.
Yeah, you
and,
know what,
and,
man?
and the real answer to that is that like that's not a very good response, because you also have to bring up the fact that because we're bigger, we have access to way more resources than the UK does, way astronomically more. And
Access
so
to
like
more resources does not reduce complexity, though. Complexity is the problem.
actually
It's
it kind of does. That's part of
No,
the
it
whole thing
doesn't.
about economics of scale. No, it is. Like we have
So
access to more money, more people who can like facilitate these kinds of things. We could have streamlined this process even more than like the UK could have.
So what's the effectiveness of the? I mean, you could say that there was more people that were vaccinated, but did that really help?
Well, considering I don't know the exact numbers of their excess deaths. However, I do remember seeing them at one point, and they were significant per capita. They were significantly lower than ours. Our excess deaths were probably some of the worst in the developed world.
So just to highlight something here, though, I think needs to be brought into the conversation is the level of manipulation by the American medical system and how many people's deaths were being attributed to COVID that weren't actually dying from COVID.
Yeah, 94%
that was categorically a very, very serious issue that was. I mean, it was.
They were getting extra
literally
funding for classifying.
Right. Yeah. And then this is well documented too. Like we know for a fact that it happened.
But that's why I wasn't talking about deaths attributed to COVID. That's why I was talking about the excess mortality rate,
roughly 6%,
which I believe is a probably more accurate measurement of how many people we can attribute to dying of COVID than looking at like the whatever deaths attributed. Because
I can understand your perspective there.
Yeah,
then I would agree.
Like, that's why, like, I mean, even when all this stuff was going on, like I distinctly remember, like, I didn't care about like, oh hey, what are the deaths attributed to COVID? I didn't care about those numbers. What I cared about was, hey, let's look at the excess mortality rate, because the excess mortality rate probably would give us a better indicator of deaths to COVID, considering that like that was the whole. That's kind of the point of keeping track of excess mortality.
I totally agree with you. There's no disagreement here. However, I'm just trying to point out parts that didn't make much sense. And one of those things is that, after the first year and a half, we pretty much had a pretty good idea who was being affected by COVID the most. And it was generally elderly, and it was generally fat, older people, males specifically. Like, so why didn't the CDC run a program saying, hey, if you're not going to take the COVID vaccine, the best thing that you can do for your health is to get healthy, lose weight, and have a healthier lifestyle? They never fucking said that. They never said that being overweight increased your risk of dying of COVID exponentially. They never fucking said that. So this is the reason why people like me have such a distrust of the government and government entities. and we just will wholesale on the face just absolutely
Like they
refuse to
knew,
take
but they
any basis of
deliberately
that.
didn't say, or they hadn't fully
Absolutely.
articulated it for
Yeah.
themselves. Well,
No,
that's
that's another
pretty
thing
much
that's
I
well
think-
documented.
I think-
I'm not. Again,
I
I'm
think
not that
more-
cynical.
I think
But
more.
We do all agree that vaccines do not cause autism.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think we're all fully in agreement with that.
But
I think
can we agree of the rise of
I think-
autism?
I think
Like
there's-
why are so
Yeah,
many
I think
autistic?
it's a rise in like
there's definitely a rise in diagnosis. But I
Yeah,
think
we can
that
people are getting better at identifying it when it
Yeah.
happens. Like when they
Yeah, we've
I think
we've
So
learned the
is it a
scale
question
and
of
scope
our
of it.
ability to identify it, or the actual issue itself, or something that we're classifying?
Well, there is the thing about like in Silicon Valley, the rates going up because autistic people are meeting and marrying and having children, and the
with
rates in their children are so there's a heritability to it. They believe,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
going up in some areas where autistic people are mating together.
Yeah, I
But,
mean,
like,
autism has existed forever. We just had different names for it.
Yeah.
And now we're able to finally like match criteria with symptomology and say, okay, well, this person, like Alan Turing, most likely had autism.
Yeah,
Like, absolutely, he had fucking autism. There's people like Isaac Newton. If you look at his personal records, his letters, people who interacted with him, how they wrote about him, they suspect that he had autism as well.
Maybe
and
autism is just a form of unplugging from the matrix, sort of. Because
Well, I
like
think-
people who are autistic are not always like
So-
you're able to communicate and you have personalities and everything, but you just have
A big-
habits.
a big thing as to what it is and why, like, one of the, I think, we can point to like its heritability as being a thing. I think it's things like autism, things like ADHD are largely sort of like they're evolutionarily selected traits.
Maybe it's just a form of unplugging to where you kind of like become an NPC when you're autistic.
Well, there is like in some autistic people, there's less social noise. Like we're less like affected by social noise because we don't really pick up on a lot of.
I would actually say the opposite. I actually think that
you're wrong.
Neurodivergent people are more NPC-ish than autistic people because of
Really?
because of autistic. The sort of like stereotype of autism is someone who doesn't read social cues, who like isn't as sort of plugged into society. They don't quite usually interact or understand social cues or norms as well as people who are neurotypical.
Yeah, like 20 years
I mean,
ago,
it
you never
depends on the
heard of
NPC programming, though, because not everybody's autistic in the same way. I can tell you, like in Starfield, when I fire off a rifle in a crowded area, like with a bunch of NPCs, some of them run, some of them stand still for some reason, and like hide behind things.
That's because Starfield is a trash game made by a trash game company, but
it's sometimes it feels like work to enjoy it, but I have been playing it.
I am happy that you're enjoying Starfield. I played it for like 4. I didn't buy it. I had it. When it came out, I had the Xbox Game Pass, and it was on there, and I played it for like 6 hours or something, and it just.
Me too. That's exactly how far I got. I just once it got to the point where everything was fast travel, and I was just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's like if I'm playing a space game, I want to fly places.
You don't have to fast travel.
This seems like a good place to be.
You can literally fast travel from everywhere, and it feels like you're just looking at load screens the whole time.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's I think my main one of my main issues with that game. Believe me, I have.
But then when you can't fast travel from somewhere, it like crushes your whole world. It sucks.
Yeah. Also, the game is like really empty. For like considering like Bethesda games.
There's no reason to fly there because like there's no reason to fly the place. There's something to discover along the way.
Oh yeah, if you're one of those people that want to do everything in the game, you're gonna be real disappointed when you realize you're just chasing your tail with these auto-generated like dungeon type places, like in the 540-second desert.
Yeah, I was about to say like one of those
or the fucking cryo lab or the cave or the natural
I have
wonder.
plenty of criticisms of like Skyrim, but like at least with Skyrim, if I like walk from one side of Skyrim to the other, I'll like discover things that are interesting. Interesting things will happen. I'll be engaged the entire time. In Starfield, it's just kind of like, oh, hey, look, another planet with rocks.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, if I want to play a space game, I'll go play No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky does the Starfield vibe better, but better. Which, by the way,
Still not getting the jab.
I mean, that's fine.
I just think, man, if you give people the information, they'll make the right choice. And there's always going to be a fringe element.
I
but
do not.
we
I
can't
cannot agree with that
ostracize them.
statement.
We have to deal with it with information instead of just ostracizing them,
as
berating them,
as one of those people,
and blow darting them.
I can tell you, I don't always make the right choice. In fact, the fact that I am addicted to nicotine should give you a thing. I don't always make the right choice. Okay, like people don't always make the right choices, even when they know they're the answers. Like my grandma was a really big chain smoker, and basically most of her life. To the point where she got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and died a week later. But she knew that smoking was bad. Like, for as long as I've been alive, she's known that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it
was a thing that was promoted at one time about cigarettes. Are an interesting topic of choice here, because we can equate that with the same sort of propaganda that we've been fucking berated with other stuff. Not going to say specifically, but other stuff that may have been a topic of conversation earlier.
There are
when it used to, 9 out of 10 doctors, 8 out of 10 doctors was it 9 out of 10 doctors? That sounds more relevant.
Now,
but 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Camels.
For what it's worth, when that was the case, that was not the scientific community promoting it. That was tobacco companies paying doctors to say that.
Is Steve asleep? No, Steve's not.
No,
asleep.
I'm dealing with something. I'm sorry.
Frank asked if you were asleep.
That's okay.
You're good. Yeah, no, Jeff. I agree that's a problem, but that's more of a problem with that was a problem with tobacco companies paying doctors to lie.
Okay, paying doctors to lie. How is that relevant? I don't understand.
Well, Jeff,
my brain's about to explode.
The difference is that the science that was being done, as in the peer reviewed experiments and
Flo
stuff
said
like
it
that
right.
that was
Flo
being done.
spelled science correctly in the chat.
The people who were actually doing peer reviewed work and stuff like that were saying, way back in the day.
Lib, you see the light. You just admitted it yourself, but still unwilling to compromise on people's personal choice.
He's an authoritarian in art,
right? But you do see that you drew
the only
the comparison
non-authoritarians I've met so far politically have been classical liberals. Every other version that's trying to spin off is some form of authoritarianism.
How is talking about the difference between corporations paying doctors to lie and scientists doing actual work, talking about that difference, how is that authoritarian?
That I don't think that's what Jeff was talking about.
I was implicating that the paying doctors to lie isn't changed. It's still going on.
Sure. But
paying doctors to do science.
When I'm talking about the validity of vaccines, or even the validity of the COVID vaccine, what I'm talking about is the people who've done
You don't think that tobacco companies had scientists and studies saying that cigarettes weren't harmful coming out all left and right and stuff, and having lobbyists all over Congress and Senate and everything?
Again, you're mixing the two things. I'm saying that there is a distinction.
They're so different.
No. There is
both trying to turn life into a subscription service.
There is a distinction between a doctor who is paid by a corporation to lie and a scientist who's doing a peer-reviewed study on the effects of tobacco use. The people back in the 50s, when they were doing all this, the doctors were saying, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Camels. Those doctors who were recommending the Camels were not the same people who were doing the studies on the effects of smoking. Those were two separate groups. And I'm saying that the people who were doing the experiments on the effects of smoking, those were people who were doing scientific study, and the doctors who were being paid by corporations were they were doing the Andrew Wakefield stuff. They were doing the like, I'm gonna
Kind
cash
of like
out.
how Fauci was doing the gain of function research in Wuhan and all that.
I'm actually not convinced that the gain of function research is comparable to that, to the doctors
But it
doing.
was something he was involved in, was it not?
Yes, but I don't. But gain of function research isn't
On the
like,
virus that
so.
ended up
Again,
causing
Jeff.
all of this stuff.
Again, Jeff. So you're using the gain of function research as if gain of function
Well, no,
research
we
is
just
something
circle back
inherently bad.
around. You admitted how corrupt the whole science thing is, and we've
No, I
drawn the
didn't.
comparison with the tobacco companies and the
I'm
current
less
situation,
mistrustful than a lot of people are.
and why people
No,
like Gen
I'm
X Jeff and
I'm not.
Steve and like
It's
everybody else is distrustful, and you want to force me to take a thing.
it's not about like whether, it's not about like being less, just like, sure, like I'll be distrustful. I'm actually, when I see like an ad come on and a doctor's like, 8 out of 10 dentists recommend Colgate, I'm actually quite skeptical of
Probably
that
9.
usually.
They probably. Why would they
Or
say
yeah,
8?
or they'll say 9, whatever. I'm usually distrustful of that because that we have had evidence that that kind of thing is not always necessarily truthful or good. However, if, for instance, there was a number of peer-reviewed studies came out that said, "Hey, look, we looked at all these different toothpaste brands, and it turns out that this particular kind of Colgate is actually like really good for getting rid of plaque," that I would be more inclined to
Baking
believe.
soda.
I mean, yeah, baking soda, whatever.
Well, and here's the backdrop to it too, man. Another comparison here is that people knew that smoking was bad for years and years and years, despite the studies and all the propaganda otherwise.
Yeah.
So reason like people who didn't want to smoke, they didn't smoke. They always had that choice, and they still do.
Uh-huh.
So in the authoritarian sense, what if you wanted to make everybody stop smoking because it's bad for you? So cigarettes are now outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
No difference than forcing me to take something I don't want.
I mean, I think there could be potentially
Because
an
of
argument for
my
outlawing
decision.
cigarettes.
Obama
I
did
don't
cut out.
I don't think though that they should. Like, I'm not, again, talking about like whether or not, or what we ought and ought not believe is different from, I think, like having like the government outlaw things. Like, for instance, I think that like, yeah, actually, I think that the government is well within their rights to make it illegal for kids to buy cigarettes. I think that's a legitimate regulation on a dangerous substance. However, I don't think that, for instance, I don't think that the government should,
Excuse me.
outlaw the sale of tobacco products. Again, there is a degree to which people are allowed to make their own bad choices. However, I do, again, but we can then go to, I think it's fine that the government mandates that you can't smoke within 25 feet of a building entrance. I think that's a legitimate regulation.
Reasonable. It's courtesy. I don't want to piss anybody off.
Most people don't even pay attention to that, and it rarely gets enforced. They'll tell you to go away, like go smoke over there.
Yeah, most of what it is they don't want you. Most of what it is like trying to, in an effort to prevent secondhand smoke from occurring, which again I think is a perfectly valid thing to attempt for the government to attempt to regulate, because that is where you deciding to smoke does and will affect other people, right? So, like, for instance,
could, not will and does, but could.
Well,
so there's a probability range there that
a higher probability. For instance, my great grandfather never smoked a cigarette in his entire fucking life, and he died of secondhand. He got lung cancer from secondhand smoke because he worked in a radio station, and everyone in there smoked except for him, and they smoked inside because that's just what you did then, and that is what gave him.
We're probably all dying of something right now that we're not aware is
Well, sure.
dangerous, that we'll find out later, like computer screens or something.
Well, computer screens are there is
It's an example. Don't get hung up on it for purposes of the story. Okay. I'm just saying that people, like, their risk and people die of stuff
yeah,
that
but
we're not aware of.
the point is though, like,
And
we know today that secondhand smoke is like a thing, and it's like not good, and it's not good enough that the government has seen fit to regulate whether or not you can smoke inside certain buildings, and that's totally fine. I think that's acceptable. In the same way that I think the government is within its rights to make sure that the population is vaccinated. I think there are
okay,
limits.
but when you say the government, because
Yeah.
I remember when the smoking bans hit Vegas, it was very controversial because of the casinos and the smokers being able to sit there and smoke and gamble all day.
Yeah.
It was kind of like ground up. It emerged from the legislative process. It wasn't a top down, like somebody at the FDA deciding this is bad for you. We are now outlawing this top down. It went through the political democratic process.
Yeah. I think things ought to go through that process. It's one of the reasons why, again, I was not pro a mandatory COVID vaccine, except in cases where we were already mandating vaccines. I think it was perfectly legitimate to mandate that kids who go to school need to get vaccinated because we are already mandating that they're getting vaccinated for other things.
I think some objection was its status as an experimental vaccine.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, no. Those kinds of issues I had, and that was why, like, I was nominally skeptical when the vaccine first came out. However, as time went on, and
I
as
was ready to open up. I was like, "Yay! That's what we've been waiting on. They finally got one. That was quick. That's amazing.
well, I was
What
yeah, I mean,
miraculous technology we have these days."
I mean, I understand. Like, I was excited too because
Man, let me ask you something. Like, when a video game console comes out, do you ever buy the first version? You just know, that one's gonna have the most problems.
You must be asking Lib.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
We were talking about Starfield earlier.
I'm
so I
actually I'm actually probably the worst person to ask because I don't think I've ever bought like a console the day it came out. Like, I
I'll
remember
tell
when
you
the
from
Xbox One came out.
experience. This is what you do. You buy it, you play it for a little bit, and when the new version comes out, you buy that right away.
I do
And then
remember
sell
that
yours while
I
it's
do
still
remember that
working.
the early Xbox Ones had a lot of controversy, and I was one of those people who didn't like it because they had it was like it would only function if it was connected to the internet, and it had that whole like voice activated system and all that stuff. I had issues with all those, but
I'm
yeah,
just,
sure.
some people
Yeah, no,
just wanted to wait
I'm not,
for the better
I'm not,
version.
yeah,
That's
no,
it.
I mean, yeah, no, Jeff, like, I fully agree. Now, I think in it's like the COVID thing, there was, I think, a slight difference because, I don't think people weren't going to die because they didn't get the newest Xbox One. However, there definitely were people who were at high risk of COVID who did need that vaccine ASAP. And for what it's worth, to my understanding at least, all of the reason that it went out so fast is largely because they got rid of a lot of the sort of like
I
red tape
understand.
bureaucracy, not really any of the practical trials that it had to go through, but they just basically made it to where you could do them faster instead of having to, like, oh, we have to send this to.
I mean, I just feel like you're adding a whole other layer of emotion and dramaticism to how, like, you were trying to save him from the bubonic plague or something insane. I mean, this was largely a respiratory thing.
Yeah, it had first off, it definitely did. It had a relatively high mortality rate for for the disease of its kind. Like, I understand that when people see hear what COVID's mortality rate was, they think, oh, that's a tiny number. However, given how infectious it was, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that nearly every single American has gotten COVID at one point or another.
I don't know if I've had it yet.
Okay, well, I don't know anybody who has not had it.
I just told you.
Sure, you are the first person I know. Well, you said, I mean, the thing is, people can say, I have, excuse me, I have a friend who never got tested. However, he was horribly sick for like 2 weeks. But then he never got tested. So he
Yeah,
can
I mean, I
claim that he never
probably
got
had
it.
it. Like,
No, he can,
I never
Frank.
really got
He
officially
can.
tested.
But like, so like the thing is, COVID was actually
But,
was pretty
you know,
fucking deadly.
Part of life is you do get sick, and sometimes it does
It,
happen.
it,
And
it
it
wasn't.
sucks.
It didn't seem disproportionately deadly to me. It seemed like we were being extra cautious in the beginning because we didn't know, but
Yeah.
but the actual impact of the virus did not seem.
I mean, if you
It
consider,
did not seem deadly enough to me to.
if you compare it to things like other issues that we've other pandemics.
It seemed
Pandemic
like
things.
healthy caution that turned into hysteria in some people.
Yeah.
That were over that most other things also turn into hysteria too.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen with you. Like you tend to have a higher threat sensitivity to certain things
I just feel
that
like you
me
bring
and
up
other
the
people may
emotions,
not.
like we're kind of kill grandma
Well,
if we don't do what we say.
considering it did kill a lot of grandmas, I don't think that's an irrelevant point to bring up.
I think that we have to acknowledge that the
I'm not a
world has
grandma.
existed long before this thing did, and it's not something that I feel like we should necessarily take lightly before just giving it to everybody, like forcefully.
I don't agree that everyone should have been given it forcefully.
Well, then do you agree on the choice then?
Yes.
Oh, see, I knew if we talked long enough, we'd agree.
Well, yeah, I
Because
never.
I mean, that was the whole part of what I disagreed with you on. You still
That's
have
my
choice.
pattern with Lib. He comes
never-
across one way, and then when
I
we
never
talk anymore,
I never. Well, okay. So
Well,
first
no,
off,
you come
I
across
never.
you're killing
I never-
millions of people, and all this and that,
Well,
and
Well,
gonna
I
kill
never.
grandma. And,
I never said that I thought that the government should have forced people to get the COVID vaccine. That was.
why did you think me? I mean, I
But-
really felt that that's what you were.
yeah, he did
position
use
was.
the rhetoric of like it's for the collective good, and if you're not doing it, then you
Like
don't
blow
care.
darts. That's why I kept saying you're
Whoa,
the blow
wait,
dart
I
guy.
never said that if you don't do it, you don't care.
It's all on the stream. There was a part of your responsibility or duty to
Well,
others.
yeah, I do think that people have a social responsibility to get vaccinated. Just, I mean, kind of broadly. That's kind of like the whole, like, if you don't have a social responsibility to get vaccinated, then vaccines are basically pointless. Because
Right.
the
But-
vaccines.
But
like,
what
yeah,
is
it's
social
on, you know.
responsibility, and who determines it? Because we have legal responsibility, which we're all bound by. But then there's this extra thing called legally you're not bound to do it, but socially you have a responsibility to do it. That seems like that's a very broad and gray area where a lot of people can come in and start manipulating.
Well, it is, but that's kind of why I like that we are a democracy, is because that's a large part of that is
because then you can come in and introduce additional responsibilities that you want people to start feeling like they have to adopt.
well, you were free to not feel those social responsibilities.
That's
However,
kind of like what Jeff's arguing is choice.
Right.
Yeah,
And the
but I'm
Merrick's disease argument as well. If
But-
you
but I'm-
remember
but
the
I'm
article
saying-
that I posted in our private chat about the chicken vaccine that basically makes its virus more deadly.
yeah, and
So,
the
I just
article
feel
we
like-
talk about, like, scientists are even like looking
And the
into
gain
like,
of function stuff, I feel like it's definitely worth a lot of reflection to make sure that we're going down the right path here and messing with stuff we don't understand.
Well, yeah, with gain of function research, I mean, I think even the CDC and Fauci and all those evil people, they have even been a bit reflective on the gain of function stuff, more so in terms of like being, I think, a lot more cautious in how we engage with it. Um, not to say there wasn't caution initially. I've done a little bit of layman's research in terms of what gain of function
Like
research
you
is.
Googled some articles.
Yeah, and it does seem that gain of function research is something that was taken very seriously. The safety for it was taken very, very seriously, which is part of the reason why I'm not as concerned about the whole gain of function research stuff. It seems like it was being taken seriously before, and now they're taking it even more seriously. So, you know, yes, they are still doing gain of function research. I agree. I mean, but again, like I said, it doesn't bother me because I've learned a little bit about it and about how the safety precautions that they do and stuff like that.
So we don't have things like the pandemic.
Yeah. So that we don't accidentally, like, accidentally release anthrax into the population or something. God, I wish. I'd say it even more.
I think he's trying to get me to wrap up and go finish our shows. Frank, see if you can
Yeah,
get
still
that
watching
episode
Survivor.
working. It wasn't working earlier.
All right. Well, I
Yeah,
think
but
we're still far apart, but at least I understand that you're not down with forcing it. So
Yeah, no.
good
That's what I'm
conversation
saying,
as
Liv.
always.
That's an example. The other day when I talked about the approach, your actual position is you do believe in choice and that the vaccine should not be mandated. But when you begin the discussion, your approach is as though you want this authoritative, micromanaged society. So if you would lead with the fact of, because we all three are on the same side, but you don't lead with that. You lead with this other
Well, I've said
opposite approach that makes us think that you are
I've said
not on the
several
side
times in this. I've said several times in this conversation.
I'm just saying, like what you say, your words contrast strongly with the actual approach you take when you're delivering your positions.
Well,
Your actual positions
I mean,
themselves.
that's your implication. That's your implying. You're implying things into my position.
No, that's my impression that I get from
you are
Well, when you
and we
follow
had
up,
a whole conversation about this
we did.
on the stream the other day, and I was just trying to use this as an instance of what I was trying to say on that other stream.
Yeah, and my point is,
so if you want to see it as an implication,
well, you are intuiting it, because I never said, there was never any point in this conversation where I was pro or where I said
I know that. Well, yes, there was a point. It came out when Jeff asked you, "Oh, so you don't think they should be mandated?" And it turned out that no, you don't. But the whole like your whole style up to that point would not necessarily lead someone to know that you didn't think that they should not be mandated.
Because just because I don't think they should be mandated doesn't mean I don't think people should get it. Like, I still think people should get it, but
that didn't come out in the beginning. That was my whole point. Like, that was not clear in the beginning. It became clear later. But if it had been more clear in the beginning, I think the conversation would have gone a different way.
Yeah.
I mean,
but anyway, man, I'm hopping off here, so you wrap up.
Good combo with you, Jeff.
Yeah. Adios,
Take
man.
care.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back, and like pretty early on in the conversation, I remember saying, I don't think that it should be forced, but I do still think people should get it. And I guess, like, I don't know how to.
I think that got lost somewhere in the.
It must have
in the style, the delivery. Which is my whole point. I was only trying to help you out because we had talked about this earlier. That's the only thing.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to like
let it go or forget about it.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it, actually. I very much so appreciate you doing this, because I'm probably going to go back and rewatch a little bit of the stream just to see how early in the conversation I had
Because I
mentioned
think
it.
me and Jeff both thought for a while that you would support some kind of way to incentivize or compel people to get the vaccine because you believe they had a social responsibility to do so, and that the government has a role in making sure that people meet these social responsibilities.
Well, I have no problem with the incentivization. My issue would be if there was in any way mandated by the government. I have, like, for instance, providing the vaccine for free, I would argue, is incentivizing people to get the vaccine, but I don't think that's forcing people to get the vaccine. If that makes sense.
Well, the job thing I understood was the private, like that
Yeah,
wasn't the government,
yeah.
unless like some government agencies did it.
I mean, there were government agencies that did do it. However, again, like, I think there's a difference between the government mandating that all citizens get it and like a like you know like, you know, the DMV making sure that, hey, if you want to work here, you have to get vaccinated. I think that's acceptable, because at that point it's like your job can mandate that you get a lot of things, and I think that's a part of that sort of like social incentivization, right? That like social process by which we sort of all we can
Right,
democratic.
but that was my whole point. If we have legal obligations, why do we need these extra social? If they're that important, just make them legal obligations. So we have one set of standards that we all have to conform to, and
I
not
think,
like legally you're in compliance, but in my opinion, there's this extra social obligation that you have that you're not living up to. So I'm going to come be this obnoxious panel like Karen and enforce it. Try to attempt to enforce it anyway, even though it's not a legal obligation.
it's
That's
not
how it comes across to a lot of people. Like,
okay.
I don't mind meeting my legal responsibilities, but then don't layer on this extra set of invisible social responsibilities that other people are somehow in charge of, that they're going to try to enforce.
But there are tons of things like that. Like, for instance, smelling bad in public. There is a social obligation to not
What
smell
would you
bad in
do if
public.
I smelled bad in public?
Well, probably I'd just, if I mean, if you were a stranger, I probably wouldn't say anything to you because you were a stranger, and
Then
I would
good,
just
we'd have no
step
problem.
away
That's
from
what I'm
you.
talking about. It's if you
However,
start taking it upon yourself to enforce your idea of social responsibilities on me as stranger.
however, if I know you and you know, we meet in public and you smell pretty bad, I'd be like, hey, yo, Jeff, you know, you smell kind of bad.
And I would appreciate that.
Yeah, like, and not in, because again, this isn't like something that
But
I'm
that's
doing
all, like that's all
for.
you have to do.
Yeah.
That's not really an example of a social responsibility that it's your job to enforce. You're just doing that kind of out of courtesy.
Well, yeah, but the reason why I would do that is because there are like social, a part of like the social fabric is not be Lib would wear a mask, but he would still smell you because
Maybe we have a different idea of the social fabric, because
maybe we do.
stinky people still have a place in my fabric. It
No,
doesn't
no,
disrupt the whole fabric.
they do too, but I do, but like it's true. Like, if you like
You have an
literally,
upper middle class idea of social fabric, and I'm from the dirt.
no, that absolutely not. There's it. Okay, hang on. Smelling, especially in America, smelling particularly bad in public is not like a rich people thing in America. Like, when I say smell, when I say smell bad, I do mean like if you literally smell like shit. Having a little bit of BO stench is like, that's a human thing. Like, I mean, like, if you
So
were
it's
like,
subjective, because everyone's gonna have their own. Like,
yeah, no, it is
impression of
subjective.
what
Like,
smells
yeah,
bad.
so social things are very subjective. That's just innate to
Which is
social
all the
things.
more reason I think they should be as open and left to
Yes,
adults as possible.
I agree, and that's why I don't think they should be legal
Yeah, part of
obligations.
it's my fault, Frank. It's actually interesting to me.
Well, yeah, but that's why I don't think they should be legal obligations, because these are very subjective social things that, like, we as a society.
Yeah, but when you talk, it sure sounds like you have very strong opinions on what these responsibilities are, and
You know,
you
some of
have
them.
these little like soft tactics to try to get people to adopt your
Well, yeah,
ideas of what the norm should be.
because I think the soft tactics are
And I think
more.
socially you may pay a little price for that here and there.
I mean, that's fine. But I mean, like, the thing is that this is true of basically every non-legal social obligation that people have. So my issue is I don't see why people are so people broadly, not just you, but like people broadly take issue with those kinds of social things. Because like again,
Like vaccines. Have you talked to people that refuse the vaccine and
yes,
listened to their reasons why?
yes. And there are some people who have brought forward legitimate concerns. Usually, I mean, not anymore. The legitimate concerns thing is was like a mid 2020.
Well, I don't
thing.
feel
I
bad.
don't.
Like anybody needs to get it now. It's pretty much
Yeah,
optional.
yeah.
Like a
Like
flu
it's
shot.
yeah. I'm a little bit different now, but like back in like 2020, 2021, early 2021, when people were talking about, oh, like it's untested or it's not tested enough, and I have some worries about it. It's like, okay, that's a legitimate concern. And then there were people who would like say like, I'm not gonna get it, and then they'd go on their like 10-minute screed of conspiracy theories.
But
And
like, which do you judge one group more harshly than another? Because if someone can have a legitimate concern,
Mhm.
that opens the door for other people to refuse it without having to justify or explain it. Because if this person can do it for reasons they think legitimate, then other
Yeah.
people can do it for similar reasons that they don't necessarily have to explain to you.
Yeah, I
Then
am
we're left with
absolutely,
individual choice.
I am absolutely more critical of people who who had illegitimate concerns because they were basically using the people who had legitimate concerns as a shield for their
Because you're a moralist and you look down on people who don't live like you think they should live. It sounds like
I don't think that's the case for everything. However,
it is.
um,
Because they're keeping they're not
yeah.
slowing the spread for the rest of us. They're
Well, actually,
keeping
even there,
the risk higher for everybody else.
actually, it's actually not quite as much that. The reason that I take issue, that I like will judge people who had crazy conspiracy theory reasons as to not take the vaccine is because they were because they're when they were like doing it, they were illegitimizing people who had actual concerns.
But if some people do it for legitimate reasons and that's okay, then why do people have to have any reason at all and justify their decision to you? As long as some people can do it legitimately,
well, they don't have
nobody should have to justify
they don't have
you're not
they don't
like
have to justify it to me. I'm not like the be all end all. I'm just saying from my perspective, I had respect for people who had to what was to me legitimate concerns, and I did not have respect for people who had what I would view as illegitimate concerns. And part of the reason that I didn't like the people who had illegitimate concerns was because their existence was making it look like other people who had legitimate concerns were like them, and we're basically
But
making
why
sure
does
you
it
can't
that's
have
so
legitimate
judgy?
concerns.
Why does it matter? Like if someone doesn't want the vaccine, why do you have to do this moral purity test on them at all to see if they're the good kind that doesn't want the vaccine or the bad kind that's
I mean,
ruining it for everybody else?
I don't have to, and nobody has to justify anything to
But
me.
you
I'm
do.
just me.
Like you,
I'm saying, like, when I had conversations with people and they would talk to me about why they weren't getting the vaccine, I would internally have more respect for the people who had what I would consider to be legitimate concerns than the people
so
who what I
it's just a respect thing. That's the only real consequence.
yeah
Is your respect
there's
for them
yeah
goes down a little bit.
I'm not talking about any like consequence. Like, this is just a entirely a me thing. When I talk about these kinds of things, like I'm talking about how I personally, just me, would lose respect for somebody. But I don't think that we should like socially ostracize or like stone the people who I don't respect. There are plenty of people I don't respect.
Would you just naturally gravitate away from people you don't respect for? So it wouldn't be like active
Generally, yeah.
ostracizing, but you yourself would not go out of your way to include them.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my best friends. His parents were big, like they thought COVID was a hoax. I'm pretty sure they still think COVID is a hoax. So that very much colored a lot of his positions. He was very much a lot of it. He was the kind of person who basically got his political positions directly from his parents and stuff like that. And we worked together, and so we talked a lot about these kind of things. Obviously, I didn't like stop talking to him because of the COVID stuff. It was actually, it was he stopped talking to me. But
Oh,
yeah,
maybe he told you that specifically to have that effect.
I mean, that was a long time before we stopped like talking and hanging out. I think personally, it had a little bit more to do with
Me?
like
I did. Provo, you can come on here anytime you want to talk about it. I did go to your show one time, and it was like video games, music, or something. I didn't see a panel.
Chuck.
Are you on Discord? Just message me if you want me on your panel to talk about autism. I'll go. Just let me know when.
Chuck, I love you.
Oh,
Chuck,
are you jealous? Because I don't go on speakeasies much anymore since he had Ben Thorpe on. But and since I-Fi won the Verbal Combat the other night, which is not Speakeasy's fault, it's whatever the audience saw in I-Fi. But I do like Verbal Combat now and then. But I'm sorry you feel like I slighted you for.
Oh, did you get in Verbal
I didn't
Combat with
know-
Wi-Fi the other night?
I didn't know you wanted me on that bad. I didn't even know you liked me. No, I don't care for Ben Thorpe at all. I watched that video of him. He's slimy. I get a slimy feeling when I watch him. And he seems like an abuser. I watched that video where he kicked the daughter, and I saw all kind of signs of physical abuse, psychological abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse.
He kicked his daughter?
Yeah, there's a video of him floating around.
Jesus fuck.
He's like sitting on the bed, and he's talking, and she said something he didn't like, and he reached out his foot, kicks her off the bed.
I don't even know who this guy is.
And then he starts like talking to her, using abuser tactics on her, not like yelling or berating her, but using these subtle little psychological jabs and digs.
Oh, he's
make
Catholic.
her feel like it was her fault she got kicked.
Yeah, he's Catholic. That makes more sense now.
Now hang on.
I'm just kidding.
Like,
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Sorry, it's a joke. Look, I can make jokes.
Provo, I'm working my old memory as best I can here. I remember that day, but I don't remember making any kind of firm commitment to go up. And if I did, I apologize. I did go on your panel. I didn't see anything going on autism related, but I am happy to go up and talk about autism whenever you want. And you can find me on Discord or Twitter, or if you need to email me, it's the same Twitter name at Gmail. So I will definitely go on.
Well, apparently he hates millennials.
Who? Thorpe?
Thorpe, yeah.
Oh.
No, Thorpe. The time of domination of YouTube.
Yes,
social media
I owe you a panel. So let me know.
Quasi-autistic, non-relational millennials.
He's Mormon. Kind of more. He's Mormon like I'm Satanist. He's his own version of Mormonism.
Oh, who, Provo?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Mormons are interesting. I
don't know. We don't have Mormons where I come from. I didn't really encounter them till I moved to Vegas, and I couldn't tell them from any other person. Like when people told me they were Mormon, I'm like, oh well, he seemed just like everybody else. So I don't know what Mormonism specifically.
Have you read the
I know
Mormon
they have
Bible?
Like special underwear stuff.
Yeah. Have you read the Mormon Bible?
No. I had a good friend who was she's like atheist now, but she was Mormon growing up, and it was real important to her, and then she kind of like broke out of it and awakened from it. So she has a lot of insights as an ex-Mormon.
Yeah. No, we had some Mormon family friends, and they gave me a Bible one time for a Mormon Bible for my birthday, and I loved that thing. It was really interesting. It's like reading Old Testament fan fiction.
Oh,
like
that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of what it was. But it was just really, really interesting to like read this book that like was written after the fucking Gospels. Like, God. It was written in like the 1800s, and it definitely sounded like someone who was trying to sound like they were writing. No, Frank, I will not stop. I will keep talking.
We have our TV watching.
I will talk for hours.
And he's getting. I understand the anticipation.
I'm edging Frank.
Yeah, let's wrap up. What's a good way to wrap up and still still respect the conversation? Maybe we can do a double feature one day with Provo on Mormonism and autism.
That'd be fun.
Shit for another day. All right, there's plenty of it. There'll be
yeah, there is. That is true.
Enough for tomorrow, believe me.
All right, I'll head off. Y'all be well. Good convo, Jeff.
Take care. I'll talk to you next time. All right, thanks everyone that showed up, and we'll keep doing it some more. Frank, give me like a couple of minutes, and I'll meet you in BC. Everybody else, have a great Tuesday. Oh yeah, smash the like, tell your friends. The best thing you can do, there's two things that really help us out. If you come on the panel as a guest and stream back to your audience, we get some like numbers from that, some crossover. And telling all your friends. And I want to do like where you can download little cards and pass them out if you're like out and about and you want people to come and either watch the stream or be part of the panel. If you want to bring people from real life that you know onto the panel, tell Frank he is a weak, insecure. Frank, you're a weak, insecure turkey for blocking Provo, in his opinion. And Frank says hi. Okay, that's it for me. Otherwise, that would be really sad if it's me up here talking to myself the whole time after we just got Lib off. I mean, got him to leave the panel. Okay, let me get out while I can. Bye, y'all. Tomorrow. Come on, start there. Bye.